Hello and welcome, the Construction Sport Podcast. We are back. We have an international guest in again, from South Korea to Swindon to Essex.
Yeah, well,
That's the
jet lag all the way. Yeah,
that is the direct route to our place. But thank you very much, Anthony Hegarty, DSRM Risk and Crisis Management.
it's very nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. I know we shared the podcast last week with Ash Howard, didn't we?
Yeah,
it was
good event.
Yeah, it was cool setup, wasn't it?
Yes, it was very nice, and the noodles went down well.
Yes, we had some the Korean version of pot noodles. They knocked socks off of.
Yeah.
I can't believe you found them in that shop.
That's
picture.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were cracking. But I took a few pictures of their studio as well. It was quite an impressive setup, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we're going to get there one day.
Yeah, well, you're halfway there.
Yeah, we've got one room ready to go.
Yeah.
It's got a few more rooms to add to it. But thanks for coming over, and big thank you for putting together what we're going to come on to of the crime report. But Anthony, more so the background of Anthony Hegarty and what's led you to bringing this crime report together, really. So
so I work. We're located in Seoul, but also Tokyo, and we work in London. So I'm normally bouncing around the three places throughout the year. The clients or the people we serve are generally corporates who have some form of problem, normally crime related or risk related. Yeah. So a lot of the work we've done in London, for example, are, when people go to work every day, they're basically in the company time, they're safe.
Yep.
But it's when they're going home at night, particularly the dark evenings. There's normally like 5 stages to that journey home, from the office to the bus stop or the subway station, the waiting for the train, on the train, the exit, and what we call the last mile home.
Okay.
So these are very different experiences, different events. A lot of people think it's pretty straightforward, but for example, in the UK, if you talk about an attack on a person, a female is more likely to be attacked on somewhere along the line as she gets off the station, but a man is more likely to be attacked at the terminus stations, at the end of the lines. So we gather all this sort of data, and we build profiles, and we go back to the client, and we say, look, you're better off working your staff this way, or get them home this way, or get them into work like this. Yeah. So those are the type of things we look at, and we do a lot of work in sexual violence, be it in the company or when they go out drinking at night or whatever. So that's really the background of what DSRM is. We do bigger projects. I was in charge of crisis at the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, G20 summits and things like that. Yeah. So the scale of the job is not a problem, although we are a small team. So then to come back closer to the crime report, we were doing a lot of work it started out with date rape drugs, the impacts of them and the psychological trauma faced afterwards. And then we broadened that to the commonality or what drugs have become. Tokyo, Korea, Seoul also have drug problems these days, but on a lower scale than what we see in the UK. So we prepared an educational course for some companies, and then we broadened that. And then we took it to NEBOSH and said, how about look at this, and what do you think? And they came back to us and said, it's more like a diploma level. Can you do something a little sort of simpler or a little bit more basic? And they also said, how about do something for the construction industry? Yeah. Because they don't really have anything of this sort of quality. So we thought about it and then said, okay, so we spent about a year developing that. And then as we sort of put that online, we highlighted some parts of it. For example, the links between drugs and depression and suicidal ideation and suicides. Yep. And then I believe as a result of that, there was another lady in England who was sort of searching the same sort of things. She herself had lost her son, a builder, to suicide. And she wrote to me and said, my son, he took his own life. And she said, I've never been comfortable with this. He was a builder. And today he is a construction industry suicide statistic. But I've never believed that there's something not right. There's not enough there. So she retained us to look into his background. As I said, I have her permission to discuss this, but I can't identify any of them for obvious reasons. So we looked into his background. We found that as a child, he had suffered sexual abuse. And once he learned that his abuser had died, I think that took him over. The trauma became too much because although he had never actually reported it himself, he lost that option to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And so he felt that he was trapped again. Some people might feel relieved when such a person is dead, but you can also feel trapped. And so as a result of that, it would appear that that was the root cause of him taking his own life. And then when we did the debrief with his mother, because there's only the two of them, they have no other relatives, so it's quite difficult for her.
Wow. Yeah.
And so when we did the debrief with his mother, she just looked at me, said, she thanked us for the investigation, but she also said, how many others do you think there are? And because I have a background in child protection, and I ran operations around Southeast Asia on sex tourism and rescuing children from traffickers.
Yeah.
So I have a real soft spot for that sort of thing. So I just said to her, I don't know, but maybe we can look into it. And that
so was you looking at him as her child then as well? I know she's
that's
grown
right.
up, but you can see that connection to a child.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, in your mother's eyes, you're always the baby, right?
Yeah,
so my mother's still alive, so I get this.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, we'll look into it. And then we didn't really know where to start, but we started really where we should start. Well, what is a construction industry suicide? We wanted to find a definition for what that actually is. We as we sort of began this project, we found that there are lots of reports on construction industry suicides.
Yeah.
But we couldn't work out what it actually meant. What is it? What there was no definition. And, somebody working in the industry at work, or maybe going home, taking their own lives, but still wearing their work clothes as opposed to their casual clothes.
Yeah.
Would that help form the connection with work? Or would it be someone who's left the industry, but within 6 months or within some time frame?
Yeah.
Would that be a construction industry suicide? So we still don't know actually what it is. And I think that for the industry as a whole, that needs to be determined. That's a very important thing that they should work on.
Do other industries have how they state an industry-related suicide, or?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that they have work-related suicides, but the risk of that is, particularly in this industry, as I think I mentioned to you before, in the Crane report, we use the example of a taxi driver.
Yep.
And you might work in construction 20, 30 years and your body starts to ache. Construction workers are tough guys.
Yeah.
They'll take a knock, but I'll leave it. It doesn't matter. I sit here nursing cracked ribs, but I'm still here today, right?
Yeah.
So we'll mention the wine. All right. So I know that they are tough. My father was a construction worker. Okay. So I know he was a big, tough Irishman. And so they sort of get on with it. That's the whole thing about builders and construction, is they like to just get on with the job. That's their sort of psyche. And so after 20, 30 years or whatever, those old injuries come back and remind you, we're still here. Yeah. So people start to... I
can feel the two of mine already. I can't feel them now, but now you're talking about, I've got a tricep here and the shoulder blade as well.
All right, I'll keep reminding you of it then.
If I dig holes or play rugby, that just tweaks every now and then and goes, we're still here.
Okay, yeah, good. So, so you get to that age and then you might think, well, you know what? I think I've had enough of this, particularly with the winter coming in. I'll go and be a taxi driver. It'd be easier, sat in the warm car or whatever.
Yeah.
And then maybe a week, 2 weeks later, whatever goes on in someone's life, they take their own lives. Maybe because he got too much pain. But today, he would be a taxi driver suicide. He wouldn't be a construction industry suicide.
Yep.
And therefore, the data is all wrong. Yeah. And you can play that in reverse as well.
Yeah.
You know, the taxi driver coming into the construction industry doesn't have enough money or whatever, and
because the ONS report it very differently, don't they? In the way it's all categoried, and I've known that from work that's been done. Now, Andy Stevens done a lot of work on speaking with ONS, and it was very much come back along the lines of everybody who's in the same category as construction workers are actually people who went to college, and that actually took into account hairdressers and jewellers and all these other courses, mechanics and all that, hands-on. So this really isn't categorised in the right ways. And
no.
yeah, from our perspective, and I suppose I've banged on the drum with it for a long time now, but the HSE don't look at it that way. But it's just kind of, it's just non-work related all the time. And it's like, well, hang on, there's got to be a change. I know Prince William is getting quite heavily involved with it now, I think, as well. And I think this could be a strong turning of the dial to realise, we need to look into it.
Yeah,
as a state as such, I suppose. Yeah,
I'd like to. Well, when we the HSE data was some of the first data we looked at.
Yeah.
And it's been around. I've seen it floating around LinkedIn and Facebook and these various sites. Look at this, and it has like bricklayers and plasterers and whatever at the top. But they are recording what we call two-dimensional data, just incident numbers. So later in the Crane report, we looked at the data in a slightly different way. We did a relative risk analysis, and that means we used what it's called, I forget the name of the system, the Novus system or something. Anyway, it's part of HSE, but it's run by one of the universities.
Okay.
And they give us, in their data, they tell us exactly how many people are employed within the industry in a given year. Okay, so we looked at that incident data, compared it to how many people were actually in the industry at that time, and then we took a relative risk number from that. So suddenly the HSE figures didn't look quite so reliable.
Yeah.
When we looked at it through a more three-dimensional viewpoint, then suddenly we have scaffolders and roofers taking the top 2 points right across the years. We went from 2011, I think it was, right through to last year.
Yeah.
And then third, in and out, it was steel erectors. So these are all people who are working from height.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this goes back to other areas of the report where we look at access to means. So we compared also with nurses. Nurses have access to medications and drugs and things.
Yeah.
So if you look at nursing suicides, they're more likely to be related to poisonings, drug overdose and poisonings.
Yeah.
Scaffolders and things, maybe they're related to, I hate to say it, but falls from height. And
we spoke a few weeks back, and it was thanks to Ash for bringing us forward and together. Then when we spoke on Zoom, and you said that to me, I've over the last 10 years of having kind of really delved into this subject, I never even thought of it that way either. But it makes so much sense, doesn't it? It's like, why do the falls from height keep on being number one? And I've worked in the industry, say, for 20 years, and I've worked at height. I'm not too keen, but I always think a lot of the guys who are working at risk of falling are clipped on now. And you think, how are people falling? I know some fall through roofs, and some are just low height where they think it'd be okay. But it always says, why is that one always number one? But then with the actual number one biggest killer being suicide outside of the fatalities at work, it makes, I think it opens up the conversation to a huge,
I was in
a whole new level.
Yeah, I was in North Wales the other day.
Yeah.
And there was some guys in the restaurant of my hotel.
Yeah.
They were clearly construction workers. And they asked me, why are you here? It's a small bar restaurant. And I explained the work I did. And I said, what do you guys do? And they are steel erectors. They're building a huge warehouse or something.
Yeah.
And I said to them, how high up are you working? And they said, 30, 40 meters or something. And I said, well, what's the situation like with falling thing? And they said, no, there are nets around. It's very safe and things like that. And I said, that's interesting. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
And it is an industry with a very high level of safety sort of policies and things like that. So you do wonder, how is this happening?
It all makes you wonder, why hasn't this been brought up before? Why has it taken yourself outside of the industry of where you are for us now to recognise it? Shit.
Well, sometimes it does take someone outside, completely unrelated.
Yeah, definitely.
To come in and give it a new look, because we might go down to the beach and look at the ocean. You might say it's blue, and I might say, hold on a minute, I think it's green.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean one of us is wrong.
Yeah.
It's just a different perspective.
Yeah.
And
hard to read the label when you're sitting inside the jar.
That's right. Yeah. Isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to remember that one. Yeah.
Before yeah.
So the funny thing, I think it made me a little bit uncomfortable because you've mentioned HSE here today. I actually, whilst researching and investigating the Crane report, we wrote to the HSE under Freedom of Information requests a number of times. And the good thing about them, they always write back within 10 days at least. And I thought, that's good. And so we wrote to them again on falls from height. And said, look, in 2024, you recorded 35 falls from height deaths.
Yeah.
Said, how did you definitively rule out suicide? How did you record them like that? But they didn't reply to that. So we followed up again, asked them the same question. And today they haven't replied to us. So I think that's, we don't want to embarrass them or anything. Or it's not an attempt to sort of say, look, you haven't done your job properly. It's about having a discussion and say, look, maybe we can look at these again. Because we were willing to look at them for them, not give them any work.
Yeah. But
we were willing to look into it and say, look, maybe we can find something else. There's something else deeper.
I feel that there's a big place there for companies, and this is going to come across the wrong word because it's not about companies covering their asses, and this is obviously about lives. I get that, but the companies and all the companies we speak to, RIDDORs are not favoured. Obviously, they do everything. A lot of the health and safety managers and directors are employed to avoid RIDDORs at all costs. And I feel like saying to those directors of health and safety across many of these main contractors, have you actually gone back to the HSC and say this is not a RIDDOR until we write off the likelihood that this could have been suicide? Because if it goes down as suicide, it doesn't actually get put down as a RIDDOR. So again, this is in a heartless way of looking at it, but that means the company is covered by not taking a RIDDOR within that project. So as
that's right.
There's a lot that's going to come with financial pressures on it and burdens when they get a RIDDOR. So if a company goes, hang on a second, we want to write off the fact that this could have been or was not a suicide. Can you please tell us, Mr. HSE?
Yeah.
Then that will be a place where they have to go.
That's
they don't
right.
do that at the moment.
Because at the moment, the way you're framing that, am I interpreting it correctly that a RIDDOR is like a red mark against the company? Is that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is pretty much. And companies will preach about how many hours have gone since a RIDDOR or since an incident on site. But reportable injury, dangerous disease and dangerous occurrence regulation, isn't it? 2007 or something. I can't remember the date now. That is a big marker against companies. Do not like that, and they know that the clients will be looking at that and everything. Whereas, to be honest, I think that if someone, it's a chance to prove that you as a business can support people in the right way post incident.
Yeah.
But it really is a marker against them. Yeah. I've been on projects. I used to work for Buckingham's. They've gone bust now, so I can talk openly about it. We had a guy fall over and break a rib of all sorts on the job.
Thanks for the reminder.
It was probably mid-60s. He'd been mining all his whole life, and then was, as we said, he was knackered. So he come on our job and started just acting as a traffic marshal. He was a great guy. He was there every hour we needed him. He was mobile. That wasn't his kind of forte. He wasn't the most mobile of people, but he could get about and he could do a job and serve. He tripped over a step and broke a rib on the job. I got in the ambulance with him, went to the hospital because he lived down in Dover. So it's a few hours from the job that we were at London Gateway, DP World. And we drove to Basildon Hospital. I sat in there with him until his wife come along. Then I went back to the job. He was struggling to breathe, as you do with a rib anyway, and he's an elderly boy with loads of back problems anyway, so he was struggling. And I got pulled aside the day after and said, what happened? I said, that Jim, he's just literally tripped over nothing. He was coming down a couple of stairs. He's just lost his footing. He wasn't paying attention to his footing. He's lost it. And I was literally told then, and this is probably where my eyes opened to this industry in a whole new world. Steve, can we get him back on the job tomorrow? I was like, probably not. He's currently struggling to breathe in a hospital. Okay, well, this is Friday. Can we get him in on Monday? I said, just get him in Monday. Tell him to come in for a meeting. Just get him to sign in that book. And then we'll send him home and say, look, we can have a little bit of time off on us. Then we can show that it's not a RIDDOR. Because if he's signed off for 5 to 7 days, it always get mixed up. It's 5 days or more. it goes down as a RIDDOR once the HSE are involved. But if you can show he's come in and we're just giving him a bit of downtime, it kind of writes that off. And then I'm not doing it. I said, I refuse to do it. And I said that, I just said to him, he can't get in. He's literally in hospital bed, he can't get in. And then I was like, well, then I realised how important this RIDDOR thing is to these companies. And
so what is the actual impact then? What if you get a RIDDOR against your name? Is that insurance related?
Can you look that up, Al? What is the repercussions? On might be a ChatGPT one more than just Google. What is the repercussions to a company who gets a RIDDOR against them? I don't think it's a financial. They get investigated by the HSE. It triggers an automatic responsibility from the HSE to investigate, and then I suppose then they're worried about what that's going to uncover, and then that could come with fines and systems in place. So, is that pretty much what it's saying?
Fines, legal action, potential prison sentences.
Fines, legal action, potential prison sentences. Yeah, so they're going to get investigated, and the investigation is obviously going to cost money.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be held that. But if you're doing everything right and morally correct, and it was just an incident, what have you got to hide, isn't it? So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and again, it's going to cause delays to a program. There's so much program pressure, financial pressures, margins and profit margins in the industry are so low that they just can't justify any delays in that sense.
Well, it's very interesting that you mentioned the older guy who fractured a rib or whatever, because when someone above the age of, I think it's in the Crane report, I'm just going from memory now, but if someone above the age of 60 gets a fractured hip, for example, there is something like a 70% chance of them dying within the next 12 months.
Is that really?
Yeah, because a fractured hip in an older person is a very, very serious injury.
Yeah.
Infection is the main killer of that.
Yeah.
So, nowadays they have actually, I don't know if it's in the UK, but in Korea, they have special clothing like airbags go on your sides. And if you fall, boom.
You break your pelvis, isn't it? I think pretty much everything, I don't know the word, prolapses basically, everything falls out literally.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything falls through, and that's quite rapid as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite serious.
Yeah. No, I didn't realise there's just an interesting link between that and it. And well, now people I know now. So I just saw my local plasterer actually the other day in Wicks wobbling around. I said, right, you see, I live local. I've just strolled over here to pick up a couple of hand tools just from doing the bits indoors. But I'm not working because I've had my hip replaced, and he can only be 48, 49. He's not 50 yet, and he's hip done. I'm trusting the process of my genetic family type having a fat ass that I've got plenty of muscle around my
I must get one of those.
I'm trusting that process to support mine.
but you're right. Going back to that RIDDOR thing, you are right. It must now be in the interests of companies to have falls from height properly investigated, and they perhaps should be asking the HSE now the same question that we asked.
Yeah.
All right, they fell off of our construction thing, but how do you know it's not suicide?
Yeah.
And I think that's now seeing how serious a RIDDOR is. Yeah, they should get in touch.
That whole supply chain of companies that are linked to say that scaffolding on that building. There's multiple companies involved with that process, and there's going to be someone that will go back to there's a tie missing, or they'll find something. And if you're saying you almost that they will be investigated as a fatality on site. So there should be a lot of evidence there to show you how it happened, and there must be people going, that just doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
there must be things in there, mustn't there? So they are probably people we need to reach out to, isn't it?
Exactly. As I outlined earlier, how our
the brain start working different, it's just talking.
That's right. But how our involvement in this started, a mother said it just doesn't seem right, and so we look into it, and there you go. That's exactly the same.
So you also going on that, and was it the universal lining, as we keep putting it, been manifested over the last few weeks or months of what we've been doing. But there's been a few people who come into our site sort of thing recently, yourself included, and you think there's a reason why these people we're meeting now in a way. I've been saying for the last 6 months, even since I've spoken to the HSE myself and also the Construction Leadership Council, we've got 50 years of the HSE and not one suicide in the workplace has been investigated, or potential work-related suicide has ever been by the HSE. There's a gentleman called Dom Cooper who sent me a lot of information. If you've not seen him on LinkedIn yet, I'll send an article that he put out, really interesting, about the 50 years of the HSE. I'm sure I've not spoken to him yet, but I need to in person. I've just messaged him a couple of times. But I looked at it and said, okay, so we've got 50 we've got 50 years of these suicides, but from my sense, in the last 10 years, what we've seen, as the Project 7K said, that's potentially 7,000 people to their own life. If that was 7,000 Ford Fiestas, we would have lifted a few bonnets up to find out what's going wrong.
Yeah,
why have they broken down?
Yeah,
And in this sense, we haven't looked at any of them. But from finally meeting yourself and you saying you've investigated one personally within your business, and that has proven that it is a non-work related incident going back to sexual abuse as a child.
Yeah.
I think the construction industry needs to realise their backs go up against me talking about this all the time. But if they go, actually, no, does that mean we can actually look into this subject? And I'm not saying all of them, but if 60, 70% of them turn out they were based around trauma as a child or trauma from outside the industry, we as an industry are giving all these people hope in a future of life and a career that they maybe couldn't have had.
Yeah.
And we can actually support these people in the right way now, because we know we are open to potential people go through traumatic and it all links again in my head from when I've spoken with my experience with post-traumatic stress disorder, and always thinking and speaking to thousands, hundreds if not thousands, workers on site. I'm like, this trauma thing is huge, and we're not doing anything about it. And I'm not saying it's construction-related trauma. I'm saying military lads coming in the industry, ex-prisoners coming into the industry, kids coming in. But then, in the same sense, I've worked on Crossrail when we dealt with people in trains all the time. Again, the details of that, but people taking their own lives. I've seen people limbs. Well, within the first few weeks, it did traumatise me, but I'll never forget it. I watched my boss, his finger got hit with a hammer. Only an accident on site. Literally, someone's whacking a window, and he's put his hand to move the window at the same time. But what that looked like, and all these different things, what really could trigger someone into a bad place.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we aren't looking at it in an industry to educate ourselves on it.
Well, you might recall, I think it's a month or 6 weeks ago, something like that. I commented on one of your LinkedIn posts, and I said, Steve, what if these suicides are connected to construction, but not because of construction?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the sort of Pandora's box you're trying to open, and I'm trying to open too. So one of the things that we have, the sort of second stage of the Crane report. So this is just the first stage.
Yeah.
And the second or third stage that we have is an online survey. We want to investigate 500 deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as you said, we gave a false name to the lad who had been abused as a child. We called him Jake. Okay, so in Jake's case, we were able to investigate him personally and find out about his life. What we're trying to do now, although this is anonymous, but we have a survey online. We have two. One for people who sort of came back from the brink. And we really want to know what turned it around for you, what brought you back. Yeah. Why didn't you go through with it? Yeah. These are all anonymous. And it might be, I don't know, I won the lottery, or I looked at the photograph of my kids and I just couldn't leave them behind. And that sort of gave me the strength to fight on, or one of the charities came through, helped me out, or da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then the other one, it'll only take 10 minutes to do that. The other one will take, I have to stress, it's a death investigation. So you got to put a little bit of time into it, 15 or 20 minutes, but it's not typing much. It's just ticking and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But we want to know from like families or friends who lost someone. Again, it's anonymous. We just want to know what happened, what were they thinking of, or what was their mood, where did they live?
Yep.
The day of the week is really, really important. The time of the day, the room in the house, if it was indoors, what was the room? That's really important too.
Yeah. What was this? Because you mentioned this the other day. So the room, you mentioned about a door being locked.
Yeah. If it's locked from the inside, may well be it was an accidental death. Because when someone commits suicide, they probably want to be found.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might even want to be rescued. They might time it when, the wife will be home in 5 minutes right now, so she can run in and save me. It's like a cry for help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be an unintended death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But maybe the wife didn't come home. She was late, or had something else to do. And so, the room in the house, the weather, the time of year, the date might be related to the death of a child or the death of a loved one. You can't cope. The location again. I've dealt with cases where a person has committed suicide at the location where their son had been killed in a traffic accident.
Yeah.
He just couldn't cope with it, so went there, and killed himself, So these questions are really, really important. They might seem insignificant to just, why are they asking this? Why are they asking this?
Yeah.
But when we start putting all these together, we can find patterns. Once we find patterns, we can find answers. We can find solutions. So we're hoping that we can get at least 500, 1,000 would be better, 1,000 people to fill in the survey.
Yeah.
We'll do all the heavy lifting, and then we can come back and we'll publish it all freely.
Yeah.
We can come back and we can publish it and say, look, this is 30% of them were taking heroin, not because they didn't see themselves as drug users, but it was pain management. Because the NHS now have cut opioid prescriptions because they're worried about the opioid crisis that was in America. Over the last 3 years, they've cut almost 500,000 prescriptions. That doesn't mean your pain suddenly goes away. It just means that you can't get a prescription. So they start looking for other coping methods. And you can find that anywhere you want. Nowadays, you can find it. So they don't see themselves as drug users. They see themselves as just coping with pain. And so if we can explore these, we can give you the answer.
Well, how many people, even like you say, even the painkillers in construction, how many people are hooked on them just because?
That's right. Even prescription painkillers.
Yeah, because they know. And especially, like I say, it's time of year when aches and pains get a little bit achier in the cold weather. I mean, the cold snap just come. But
well, I've already done 4 ibuprofens this morning. So.
It's literally it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's so easy to do. But our industry, we aren't willing in the UK as an industry willing to go there yet. We spoke at an event a few weeks back at Get Construction Talking at the Gherkin, a mental health summit. It was really interesting. And there was a couple of guys there from the States and 2 separate people from 2 different entities, Brett Smith and then another gentleman, I can't remember where he was from, but it was from the States. And they both mentioned on the narcotics and stuff like that in construction over there. And in my head it was like, we've not even got into that part yet of delving a bit deeper into some of it, where they were really aware of certain topics within the subject of mental health, where we're still so just mental health in general, because everyone's just taking a stab in the dark because it's not being led in the right way.
Well, these drugs lead to depression. They lead to suicidal ideation. So even like this, so basically there are 4 types of drug. You've got your stimulants, like your cocaine, crack cocaine, methamphetamine. They make everything go faster. Your cardiovascular system, your heartbeat, everything goes faster and faster. The problem there, of course, is a lot of people take those with a beer. Now, a beer is a depressant, so that tries to slow everything down. So you've got these 2 competing drugs in your body on the heart, so that leads to heart attack and heart failure and death that way. So you got your stimulants, and you got your depressants, like painkillers, heroin, things. Then you've got your hallucinogens, your LSDs, where you can see and hear all sorts of stuff which isn't real. And then you've got marijuana, which has all 3 effects: depressant, stimulant, and hallucinogenic effects. And particularly nowadays, the skunk, the higher 35% THC marijuana, is which is essentially what is on sale now here. And when that's not on sale, so the sort of fakers, if you like, because the synthetic drugs like nitazines, nitazines is fentanyl's not so popular in the UK actually, but nitazines are really rocking. So someone will sell marijuana or heroin, but it's fake. They'll put synthetic drugs inside because what they're actually trying to do is create a client. They'll get you addicted much faster. You'll get the hit from the drug and you think, oh, it's marijuana or it's heroin or whatever. You're going to get the hit, okay, but it's not what you think it is. It's a synthetic opioid, nitazine, and you're coming back for more and more and more.
Terrifying, it really.
It's terrifying,
Yeah. And these are, it goes back to the old anti-vaccine thing. All these people who don't trust what you're putting in your system, whether it's the state or the guy around the back of the pub.
That's right. Well, some of those people who don't trust the state, but they will trust the guy
that's the best one.
Selling something out the window of his car. Okay, I'll take some of that.
He's trustworthy. He's there every week.
That's right. Him. I know him.
But the drug thing is saying, again, we get a lot in. Again, I didn't really realise as big as it was in my world of construction, because we used to get drug and alcohol tested, or the risk of being DNA tested a lot. Well, the risk, it was always there. You could be pulled up at any time. They should do it, 1, on induction, 2, if an incident or accident occurs, you get, or 3, just random. And that's, I think, a lot of the industry. But then when you go down to a lot of probably these fit-out companies in the UK, especially London, where you still need your ticket to get on site and that, but the private sector probably more so. There's not as much of that testing in there because they know, and they all do know, because I've spoken to all these associations. Everybody knows if we'd done a blanket DNA check across the whole industry, our labour crisis would be a hell of a lot worse than the crisis it currently is now as well.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because a couple of weeks ago or a month or so ago, I had an online, one of these Teams meetings with one of the tier 1 companies. And we got on to the subject of drug testing and site testing and urinalysis and all.
Yeah.
And what they hadn't been aware of is that a lot of these drug tests, they don't detect synthetic drugs.
Yeah.
So like nitazines or fentanyl, they won't show up in the standard urinalysis testing. So that's a flaw. And a lot of them don't actually realize this.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the users do realize that, which is why another reason to be taking them and not taking marijuana or not taking one of the easily identifiable drugs.
Yeah.
So they really need to check with their providers. What are the limitations of these tests?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not being some incredible, isn't it? So much going on under the radar.
That's right. But when you go back to the sort of anxiety and depression thing, you know, if you're rocking up to work one day, but you've been taking something sort of black market because you've got so much pain. At the same time, you're going into work and you know there could be a drug test.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure on that guy, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, you can sympathize with him because he, as I said, he probably doesn't see himself as a drug user. He's just coping with pain.
Yep.
And he doesn't want to lose his job. And so
the Network Railway, I think Network Rail do need to do a lot about it. And I'm a big fan of working the rail. I've done it a lot, but there's a bit of ownership, I believe. They've got, and I know this from speaking to multiple people who've lost their tickets over the years because of drugs, but they have a zero tolerance policy on it, and you can understand why. It's a high risk sector. But what I know two case studies now of people who have lost their families and their loved ones, or they've left them, got custody of children, and they've been left. But the reason that's happened is because they've not been present at home, because they've given their life to working on the job 6 to 7 days a week minimum, a lot of the time, the maximum hours they can. They've had the carrot dangled for years and years and years, at Christmases as well, New Year's Eves, Easters, all the big family holidays. They are a big cash carrot is dangled to them, so they take that. They end up then going on this pathway of not been supporting their family in person. They think it's fine at first because the family's getting lots of funding coming through, money's coming in, lifestyle's good. But then after a certain amount of time, families start to realise that the money's good, but we want you here. You know what I mean? You want your presence, and that's worth a lot more. And they end up losing them people, and they go. And then one of them especially was on this pathway of realising, this is now a nasty divorce case. He's just he had a weekend with his mates, just gone out in a complete blowout. And then, who knows, but he literally said he just did this one weekend, hit it hard, had drugs, cocaine in his system. The week after, lost his job, lost his tickets for 5 years, and it was all taken away from him. And he got in touch with us, and I went and spoke and met him for breakfast. And he's like, the only thing I can do now, Steve, is my day job that I'm doing in London on a building site. I'm also doing fit-out work of a night in Harrods as well in London. And he just said that everything I'm doing is just because I need that same fund. I need that money still needs to come in. That's and so a lot of it isn't going to me; it's going straight to the family elsewhere anyway. So, but I need to do this, and he got through it in fair play. Testament to him, he did. But he double shifted for a number of years to get through that tough period. Yeah. But I really sympathise with him because I was like, you are a product of the environment of the network rail industry. Really, you are driven, and he is still is now, and he's back and he's clean. He's doing really well now, and obviously credit to his professionalism of what he does anyway, but he's a big points operator in the industry, so the railway points, he goes, and he's there's not many who do it to the standard he does, so he is thrown all over the country to do this stuff, so he's a big pawn in the piece, really.
So who do you blame for that? I mean, who do you hold accountable for that? So these are logistical things. Logistics have gone wrong. So a lot of the things that when we did the Crane report, we found that, for example, most of this is not because someone is mentally ill.
No, that's a touch on it. We report. I found really interesting.
It doesn't need pathologizing or medicating. It just needs a change in someone's life.
A bit of understanding, isn't it? Yeah.
So I just wondered, in that guy's case that you've just mentioned, what could have been different? You said, like, because he's obviously gone for the overtime. He's obviously gone for the double pay on Christmas Day or whatever. I understand that, because when I was in the police in London, or I wasn't married.
Yeah.
but we'd always grab a bank holiday because it was double pay.
Yeah,
Even though it's
yeah.
not today, but it used to be.
Yeah.
Double pay plus a future day off.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
couldn't go wrong.
Yeah.
So I understand the motivation with money. As I said, I wasn't married. I didn't have children then.
Yeah.
But the consequences of that, as you pointed out, family breakdown and everything else. So how do you
feel
deal with
that Network Rail should have something in place, duty of care for the staff, no matter what the situation is, to say, look, you're going to lose your tickets for 4 weeks, or you can come for a 6 week or 8 week rehabilitation process in a way, so we can sit down with trained professionals to really understand what it is with your drugs. Is it an addiction to drugs, like you say, or is it a random one? Or to find out more about you, because if someone's serious about it and really has messed up, they will turn up for 6 weeks or 8 weeks to show that they are sorry. You know what I mean? Whereas,
that's right.
Yeah, if it was just a random chancer and he's pissing about all the time, he's not taking life that seriously. He'll find a job elsewhere. But when it really means something to someone, they will turn up, I think. And I do believe they should. And that, like, penalising people for this 5 years is almost, I think, a bit negligent.
And not only that, but the guy who does show up for that 4 weeks re-education is probably a pretty good worker as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're going to turn up to something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the guy who doesn't care, it's probably not the guy you want anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think, and especially in an industry that's slacking staff as well, like, can you afford to be losing this amount of people and just kicking them off the side? But does it go back to construction as a whole? If someone's got an issue, just get them gone. There's another one waiting in line. And I think it's a savage industry we work in, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And,
I actually wondered if one of the things we put in there was just an idea that would it be more successful if drug testing was voluntary? Yeah, right. You want to be trusted if you don't want to be. And then you could have like motivations, not big, like maybe a box of Quality Street if you take the test, or if you do 5 days.
Incentivize it.
Incentivize it,
Yeah.
And the good thing about that is you can find out who's not going there. Yeah. Who's always choosing not to. It could be cinema tickets. Well, that's a pretty good gift. Who's not coming in? And it may be that you could intervene in that person's life.
It's like a lottery, enter the lottery by just having a quick drug check.
That's right.
Just bang on right.
This guy's always going through the B door, and so go and talk to him. Anything wrong? Can we help you with something? And it's another way to.
Because if you're clean, why would you?
That's right. No, that's right. And it's another way of building that pattern. Our job is to build patterns. Yeah. And that's another good way to build a different sort of pattern. Yeah.
Interesting. Right, the crime report then. So, the crime report. Let's see what we're just speaking to in a lot of detail. I'm sure we jump between all the sections, but it's sections made. It's a number of sections put together. 1 to 9, isn't it?
There's 9 sections. Yeah.
9 sections to it. Should we just work our way from 1 to 9, work through there, shall we? So we both got it in front of us as such. I'm sure I know I read it last night. There's a few interesting points in there. So we've got the...
Well, if I can just say one thing.
Yeah, please.
The design of this, using imagery on every page and making it we wanted to make it look a little bit more interesting, not like an essay. I would have liked to have made like a picture pop-up version, but it wasn't really possible, But we wanted to make it as colourful and interesting as possible, so you can jump in any page and jump out again.
And I am very much a non-academic who's
like me.
In the, and I sat down and read it the weekend, and I found it very straightforward and easy to read, to be honest. And
good, yeah.
Yes, if that's a credit to. You're reaching out to my lot.
Well, I'm a non-academic too. Left school proudly at 16 with a couple of CSEs. Yeah, so I don't mind that.
So the first one, section 1, suicidal typologies. Typologies.
Yeah,
the construction industry. So the boundary between suicide's actual depth is often unclear.
Yeah, that's a really critical point when you talk about drugs, actually, because someone takes drugs, they're probably not intending to die, but They talk about drug overdose, but usually it's a drug poison.
Yeah, this is what I read through it then and seen the drug poisoning. Yeah, it makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you've relied on the ONS statistics. Accepted typology of suicide motivations are not reflected in official recording practices. ONS reported suicide data is unreliable due to legal restrictions, evidentiary challenges, and report delays. There's no clear definition of a construction industry suicide. This is what I think, someone else is on our page when I see you talking like that, the construction industry suicide. And again, I think that also goes back to the fact that there is no employment law related industry suicide investigations as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? But
I mean, can I ask you a question?
yeah,
Given
please
your
do.
experience in the industry and my experience of dealing in death investigations, actually globally, we work as, I think we're quite unique in that area of
Yeah.
risk management. But do you see that companies would, given what we've just said previously about RIDDOR, do you see a time when companies are going to start saying, no, we want an investigation into
I
that
think
death?
they really should. If that, and now we've almost brought that up in this session of this podcast, of saying no, to go into companies going, no, look, you're suffering with RIDDORs, and you shouldn't be, because these people are potentially taking their own lives. So that may be the one they kind of bite back at and go, actually. And I think that opens. It's really interesting you do that. I spoke to I was out last week with a company, and they said, how would we, as the main contractor with the RIDDOR situation, if it happens 2 or 3 in their supply chain, if we investigate them and someone gets a RIDDOR for suicide, if that's the way it goes, that company, the main contractor, is going to be held responsible when technically it's one of the companies in the supply chain. So they said, how do we protect ourselves from that? Again, protect themselves from the RIDDOR again. It's always going back to that.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it's got to be something. It's
I
got to be
think
like an asterisk to it. No, it's a suicide-related RIDDOR rather than just a RIDDOR.
that's right.
But yeah, how companies can
And where it's
protect
rooted
themselves.
outside, childhood or completely unrelated, family breakdown or whatever. Unless they're going to come right back, like your friend you've just mentioned. Okay, my family, my marriage broke down, came straight back. Well, Network Rail made me work Christmas Day. I don't think that's stretching it on the responsibility.
So would it be
side.
something that you guys, that obviously DSRM, are open to, if people do come forward and say, can you help investigate?
Yeah.
I've got something here that we really want help with. And to be investigated.
We've spent the last 12 months now. It's 12 months. So when Jake's mother came to us, I will concede, we were paid to do that as a normal client.
Yep.
On this one, we haven't taken any payment from anyone. We've put our heart and soul into this.
Yeah.
The main reason for that is because we wanted to retain independence. We wanted to be able to say, you're wrong or you're wrong without any worries about that. So we've taken on this on. We think it's really, really important. And if we can succeed with this, then it can be replicated in other industries where they have issues. Just learn here, use this as a starting point. And the whole broader thing of suicide can actually be fixed. But we need to start somewhere. And I think this is a very good place to start.
Yeah, definitely. It's also got there on the cultural and environmental factors on here. What's a big kind of light bulb of mine. Despite record levels of foreign workers in the UK construction, little is known about how cultural factors shape suicide risks and methods. We had, and the reason why this kind of sparked my interest, we had a gentleman with us this year from Pakistan, and he had lost a couple of close people to him, and that was all related to, and one of them was construction related, and he knows this, and he says this day, so there was rumours going around that he was gay. He was a gay guy from Pakistan, and he knew his family could not deal. He wouldn't be able to face anyone from his part of the world with that being a factor. And then, so when he said that to me, that's when I kind of thought, Christ, again, it's looking deeper into this subject of the people that are on our building sites. We have, and I know from the groundwork side, we are full up with some, not many, but some English, some Scottish, British in general, a lot of Irish, but then also a big population of Indians as well, especially in the concrete world of what we do. Indian lads, and then Eastern Europeans from Romanian to Lithuanian. Not as many Polish in the groundwork that I've come across, but Romanian and Lithuanian have been a big factor in that. But they've all got. I've done a talk actually on an event, Construction Wave. Andrew Curtin done an event a few years ago called Next Gen. It's all about the next generation, and he asked me to put a few slides together to talk about the mental health. And I've done it a little bit off of my kind of channel. Really, I went outside the box for a change, and then I actually done it on, are we factoring Ukrainian children into the future of construction? And so what's that? So we're inheriting now a lot of Ukrainian. This is right when it first started, the conflict with Russia. I said, today we've got a lot of people on our sites from Romania, from Eastern European, from when they come through in the 90s or whenever it was, isn't it? When everyone come over when I was a young kid. And now those children are all born and bred London-based Romanians, really. And are we factoring in that we're going to have a lot of Ukrainian children going through colleges and schools and becoming qualified construction workers in some way are we factoring in the potential traumatic childhoods they've had? And just kind of put that out as a question. Didn't get much back, but it just got the interest and sparked the interest.
Yeah.
But it ties right in with that kind of understanding foreign workers.
That's right. I mean, so children, and you just showed me a photograph earlier about these African workers on the subway, on the tube.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of troubles in Africa. So you have children in conflict zones.
Yeah, serious.
And then we're bringing them here. Some of them fall into gangs.
Yep.
Some of them do very well,
Yeah.
actually. But some of them will carry on, but suddenly have PTSD can come much later in life.
Yeah.
Kick in. And so we don't really know who's, that could be an English person as much as it could be an African or a Ukrainian or anyone else. But we shouldn't treat everybody as construction workers. Everybody's got a life.
Yeah,
and there are dynamics, but due diligence can be quite expensive.
Yeah.
So you have to take a risk. So the good thing, I guess, is as long as they have some form of qualification, at least they've gone through something and they've studied and they're a little bit focused.
Yeah.
You bring in someone who, when I was 16, when my brother was 16, when my father just started life as a laborer on the buildings.
Yeah.
Nobody checked anything back in those days. But I think it's more rigorous today.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty much everybody goes through from probably not on your domestic stuff, but when you get into the commercial, private, or the commercial side of infrastructure, whatever it is, you have to really have a CSCS card, I suppose. So everyone does go through that check, and we have got CITB who are heavily rich with levy fund grants that have come into them, and it's been spoken about and disregarded a bit, that over £100 million worth of money just sitting in the bank doing nothing. So you're like, we'll put that to work, put that to testing these people in a way that works. Everyone's paying into that system anyway, so construction tax really.
But you mentioned also about the Ukrainians, and you mentioned the challenges of the Pakistani guy.
Yeah.
These are two very, very different.
Hugely different.
And a guy perhaps from Ukraine, or a guy from England even, who there's a rumor going on about he's gay. Well, in England, it doesn't actually matter if you're gay anymore.
Yeah.
But for that Pakistani guy, it's a big issue from where he is from his country or his culture within this country. So that's the dynamics surrounded that are very different. One guy might be embarrassed, but another guy is very traumatized by it. So it's just a different way of dealing with the same issue.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's it's probably a bigger issue, especially the UK at the moment with the multiculturalism and how it actually how can it come together and work? It's a little bit more complex than just put them in a room or put them on a building site and they'll all work together. Especially like you say, when you put in mental health situations in amongst little topics. The campaigns often emphasise generic issues, marital breakdown, alcoholism, financial stress, common across all industries. This dilutes recognition of construction-specific stresses and risks, oversimplifying the problem. Yeah, so there again, we just touched on these things you've got there as well, like marital breakdown, alcoholism, financial stress, common across all industries. This is, so if you've got someone suffering with all of them, and then they take their life, the HSE say it's a personal, there's a personal issue. But then if you take it, there's obviously work-related stuff there. But it's like we're admitting as an industry that people suffer with all this stuff, but as an industry, we're not showing that we're accountable by saying, well, should we put stuff in place to help these people?
I think that one of the things that sort of came to me as I was going through all of this, when you think about all of these mental health advisors or professionals and the campaigns and everything else, I don't know of another industry which works so hard in this. I mean, you could have, nobody really counts how many people in Marks and Spencer's commit suicide. Well, how many? Well, what's Marks and Spencer's doing? I mean, maybe nothing. I don't know. But there's the sort of supermarket industry. There are hairdressers who commit suicide.
Yeah, you mentioned this. Yes, and they record this. That they're very much aware of.
Yeah, that's right. But they're still not doing as much as what the construction industry does.
So I do think, again, with the legislation piece in place, I think we will see a new day, and there will be a new industry born into the UK construction sector, like health and safety was when when those regulations come in. When some people then suddenly did put high-vis jackets on, they did put hard hats on, boots.
Yeah.
Everybody was in their back, and companies won't be able to afford this stuff. We can't afford to put handrails everywhere. We can't afford to make sure, as a company, that our workers have boots on. Everyone's like, we can't afford that. And I look back on it, I was very young at the time when this kind of come in, I suppose, or when it really pushed in. But guess what? The client pushed it, and then the main contractor was able to factor it into their costs of running a project. And then because of that, they could afford to do this and do that. And if they can pull it in and explain why we're doing that and why we need that money, and then it's, okay, cool, this is going to prevent further fatalities, that would invest into that. So they can, and then off the back of it, they end up with a successful project with no fatalities on. So I think as soon as you actually factor in from a legislation point of view that mental health and support for workers, whether it be mental illness or yourself, just a generic issue that someone's got around financial problems or marital problems, companies can then factor that support into the way they price a job. And then suddenly they have got an on-site nurse or an on-site psychotherapist or someone qualified in the industry to support it.
I think what they would probably look at, I mean, if they came to us, if they came to DSRM and said, look, how do we sort of square this circle, as it were, and we would say, okay, what would be the financial costs or the reputational damage if someone were to commit suicide on site? You know, the RIDDOR points, or because it would go down perhaps as a fall, an accident or something. Nobody would know it was a suicide. What would be the cost of that against your company, particularly reputation? That's really important. Versus, as you said, having someone on site, a nurse on site. Probably this one is much cheaper. Yeah. Although when you're calculating risk, like I've just pointed out, if someone does this, if this happens, you're always trying to calculate the cost of something that might not happen at some unknown date in the future. Yeah. And that's where companies start to think, well, why are we paying for this? You know, it probably won't happen, you know, and
that's what turns our industry so reactive in the end, isn't it?
That's right. Everything becomes reactive. It's more like the fire brigade. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. When it goes wrong, then we'll see.
Yeah, that's right.
It's too late. It got in here as well. The UK relies on policy-driven frameworks led by developed public health bodies and charities. And we can see, and even our head, as us as a small-scale charity and what we do here, but we're getting quite a loud voice now. We always think about, but why has it been relied on the charities to try and do this? You know what I mean? I'm like, we're not here to change. We're not here to write the policies and do that. So we're here to try and change them and show the problems that's going on.
Who do you think should write those policies?
Government. I think it's got to be now. I think we've just another BSI standard come out last week, and that is all around about supporting suicide in the workplace. Suicide related in the workplace or something like that.
Is that all workplaces?
Yeah, no, it's BSI standards.
British standards.
The British standards, yeah. So, but technically, I suppose it is. Yeah, it goes across them all, doesn't it? The standards everyone works to. Yeah. But it's not a law, you know what I mean? It's just we advise, and we've noticed it across the industry. Some clients and some projects want to see you really on them standards, but then there's other ways that people are pointing towards. We'd rather you look at these set of standards. There's all these different standards all over the place, so no one's singing the same hymn sheet. So from what I can see, even if you look at it, when I've typed in on LinkedIn before and got a bit of a backlash towards it, or people are like, there's already a Duty of Care Act in place, that people should be working towards that. This is in place. The standards are already there to stop mental health related suicide in the workplace or whatever. I'm like, well, show me where it is then. Like, and if it's in there, why is it not being acted upon? Why is it not being held? The law not being held on.
I think a lot of these policies, though, they're there. They're well intentioned. Yeah. But they are the product of sort of the executive branch. Yeah. And the HR, and what actually filters down to the site is a bunch of rules, which a lot of people don't really read. No. Some of the site foreman might read them out in the mornings. Yep. A lot of people may not understand that English because there are people from so many different countries. Yeah. So it's how it's filtered into the I think psyche.
Grenfell's brought a lot, and probably this standard stuff change at the moment is all off the back of the Grenfell.
Yeah, that's the insulation stuff.
Yeah. So the tower that went up in West London, the cladding, the insulation, everyone's blaming each other on there. There was multiple checks not done across that whole building for years and years, or there was whistleblowers shouting or screaming for years to say this ain't right, that ain't right. And then Cadent Gas they couldn't find the gas main. They come up the stop clock to turn the gas off when it actually happened. The investigation to find out that went quite quiet, that one. Cadent didn't get any of the stick for that, but they had to dig up the road and find it. And when they turn it off, it shows in the inquiry that the building kind of went out in a way. It was being fed by the gas main where no one knew how to turn it off. And all these different standards have now come into place, and they are rewriting a lot of the way the industry works at the moment with it. But in our head, it's kind of like, why, again, it's a reactive again.
That's right.
But nobody's really, the standards is what it is, but unless the law shows this is the law, you know what I mean? This is the way. And that's why I think from my head of working in the construction sector, we haven't got to target the construction sector to change this. We need to target employment law to be changed to then filter down.
I think another thing that goes wrong sometimes is this is usually more evident in the water companies.
Yeah.
So they flood the rivers with effluent or sewage or whatever, and they get a penalty.
Yeah. Heavy. Yeah.
It's a heavy penalty, but that penalty cost is a lot cheaper than cleaning the thing in the first place.
Yeah.
So they probably calculate, well, if we get fined, it's going to be this much. If we clean up the problem, it's going to be this much.
Yeah.
We'll just take the fine.
Yeah.
That's where it sort of breaks down. They make a decision based on that. It's a rational, not a good decision, but it is a rational decision because they have to think of their shareholders.
They look at digits
before they think of the fish in the river or whatever.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. You also got on here while the UK system benefits from its flexibility, suicide rates continue to rise. And I think this actually touches on the fact of self-employed workers as well, doesn't it? And the negativities to that. But then the significant benefits to the worker. And we always say that. And a lot of people always come to me and they'll talk about, but this, your job's never really secure, insecurity of the jobs you're on. And I said, but if you look at that though, it's a real benefit to the guys. You can just take a week off and go on holiday. Are you
talking about the CIS payments?
So this one's actually, this is just on the comparative national responses. I've just got on there, but it links down to that CIS one, doesn't it? Yeah. The way that CIS works and employability, because people are self-employed.
Yeah. Well, they say, there was some research done, I think in 2024, about the 0 hours contracts.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, it's exploitative and all, but actually over 60% of people said, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It
100%.
suits me.
Yeah. I couldn't be employed again. Tell me
about it.
Not since this podcast went out. From the last few years. But my wife said, cool, you imagine someone trying to tell you what to do. I was like, Jesus Christ. And it worked years ago. And this is probably 10, 11 years ago. I literally said to someone that I'm going away start of April. I'm going skiing with my family. They said, no, you can't. We're busy that month. I was like, no, I've booked it. I'm going away. And they're like, no, you can't. I was like, well, I'll have to just find a new job then, won't I? Because I was like, I'm going. I was like, some people are made for it, some aren't. But
it's funny that you say that, I can't work with some other people. I can't be told what to do now because I've been independent for so long. It reminded me, I don't want to change the subject, but when we did, I was in charge of the Pyeongchang Olympics crisis management.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And we had because we had 500 executives from the States, which I was responsible for evacuating. They brought their own sort of security guy, never been in Korea before. And every day is, in America, we do it like this, and you'll do this, and I'm the client. And I got to the point, I said, that's how you do it. Yeah. I'll go home. There's no problem. I don't need this. But very, very hard to work with some people, particularly when I've been free doing everything by myself. So I do get it. So being self-employed or whatever, and then going into an organization where everything is structured, particularly a big company, as in the construction companies, it's very, very hard.
We get it as well, because I did it when I took employment. You look at the CIS lads, we go, right, if I go, this week I'm taking home £700. But if I go employed, I'm going to get a car, I'm going to get some fuel, this and that, but I'm going to take home £500. Now, in their head, they're going, I'm still not making £700 though, even though they are, but it's built up with different factors and certain taxes being paid and national insurance, whatever. But they still look at that now. I'd rather just have the 700 and I'll sort the rest out myself. Thank you. There is that kind of,
particularly young guys, because they're not thinking about pensions.
No, just cash in the pocket on a Friday afternoon. How much? What? £500. What is that going to buy me this week in comparison to an experience of £700 this weekend?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it is literally that. And I think, again, what can the industry do about that? I don't really know. I suppose that's just the financial education we should be given at school level, I suppose, isn't it? Of understanding this stuff. Right.
I think I've been saying that for a long time. I mean, my wife sits down with my daughter actually, and shows her about money. So you get pocket money. Yeah, I think £10 a week or something, not much. My daughter would just naturally go out and blow it, you know, in the first sort of shop. But my wife was showing her now how to regulate it. And
Yeah.
that's what we need in England schools, and
Yeah.
in Korean schools and Japanese schools as well.
Yeah.
In Japanese schools, they do that, actually.
Yeah.
But in England schools, they don't do that yet. And
Yeah.
I really think they should.
I can't remember what it was the weekend. Just yesterday with my boy. He said, "Daddy, can we have this? Can we get one of these?" I said, "Yeah, no worries, son. They're quite expensive." And they're like, "Oh, what was it?" And they said, he said, "Yeah, can we?" I said, "Cam, son, do you want to spend all your money on that? So all your pocket money's gone?" He went, "Oh no, I don't want to do that." I said, "Well, don't tell me to do that then." I said, "But if you really want to waste your money on that, or you could hold fire, yeah, okay, I won't get it, Daddy." Like, yeah, just learn what value is, isn't it?
That's
in a way?
right. Well, nowadays, I think young people, they sort of know the price of everything, but the
Yeah.
value of nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
What I have actually taken into account, and I was with some lads a few months ago in London that we work with, and I said to them, "We're going over to this job tomorrow," and it's only one or two tube stops different, and they went, "Oh fuck, that's another £1.70 or something like that," and they noticed to the penny difference. They knew, and that wasn't like that 10 years ago. Maybe it's an educational piece that's coming through, but these guys were in their 40s and 50s. But I thought, no, this is the pressures on society now, where these guys are protecting every penny,
that's
and
right.
they knew it was an extra £1 or £2 difference. That, and I thought, cool, that was never on people's mind a few years ago. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
thought that's an eye opener to how pressured we are now.
That's right.
in
Well, that's what we were talking about
society.
before about the coffees, isn't it?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
much it actually builds up to over a year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it soon adds up when you could just, like you say, to do a quick one at home and
That's
come out
right.
of it. And it's just
Yeah.
me this morning. I had a couple
That's
already.
right. Yeah, yeah.
That's my own fault. Yeah. Well,
I was hoping you would turn up with a hot flask, actually. So.
Yeah, there's a little cooker, a little stove on there. My wife actually said it to me. She said, I think you should take our coffee machine to work now. We've got this Nespresso thing's lasted 10 years. We've definitely got our money's worth of that. I think you should take it to work and have it in the office. I was like, she's seen one. She wants a new one.
Oh, that
She's
means she wants a new one. Yeah. It's like my son. Dad, when are you going to get a new car? What he really means is when you give me your car.
Yeah, he used to say mobile phones actually, didn't it? Dad, when you do an upgrade, and then
Yeah.
you know that for the mobile phone be stepping back. This one was a big one because when I said to you about the topics, you said the sections. Look at these ones, but section 3, the suicide prevention media.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one you've looked at the video work, the video analysis, and podcast analysis. Let's see, we could come into play with that one.
Yeah, we didn't look at yours then. So.
Yeah, good.
I'm sure I wouldn't be here today.
No, there's nothing to report. It's just very highly commended. It would be at the bottom of the asterisk.
That's right.
to it.
That's right. Yeah.
After episode 62 or whatever this one goes out as. So this looks at the video work that's out there in terms of mental health campaign stuff around the subject.
Yeah, that's right. The first thing we looked at was the length of the video. So let's say it was 3 minutes or whatever. And then the build up, the emotional, heavy sort of storyline, the traumatic, it was very depressing and negative feeling, to the intervention point. And where did the intervention point come? So where's the happy part? And it wasn't even that happy. But in one of them, I think, which actually I believe won an award, And in fairness to the people who make these videos, I know that their intentions were good. I know what they're trying to achieve. It's just I don't feel they've gone the right way about it.
Yeah.
And they've been very, very negative. And they can't guarantee that whoever's watching that video, but the one that comes to mind is the guy getting up on the roof and he's lost his marriage is broken down. He's drinking. He's taking antidepressants.
Yeah.
He can't see his kid, his son, on weekends maybe with his wife there. And one of these very depressing stories, and it's gone through that and that and that and that. And almost at the end, he's just about to jump off the roof of the construction site building. And you think to myself, well, there's your access to means. Okay, there's you're showing now. Oh, you're showing methodology. You can do it like this, But now someone who is clinically depressed, I don't mean having a bad day, but clinically depressed, watching that, suddenly thinks, you see, I'm not alone. He's doing it. I can do it.
They're not necessarily taken in the context of the story, are they? Potentially watching the video, just taking in, like you say, the scenes.
The scenes.
He's
That's
doing
right.
up those stairs to the edge.
They see themselves there.
I
can do that because he agrees with me. He's on my side. So suddenly someone is in his reality, his space. And you can't guarantee, although they have an intervention point at some point, you can't guarantee that this guy will watch the video to the end. Yeah, he might only watch that part, or he might have to switch off because the green light has come, so he's got to move, or someone's come into his space. So he's got to switch that off. So he hasn't seen the end. And
So interesting. Yeah, we start talking about it.
we saw that pattern. So there's a rock bottom sort of almost all the videos we see seem to be about crisis, trauma, rock bottom. Nothing is happy. You can still have a happy story. When we went through that, we put in some scripts, some sample scripts. I'd actually like construction support to make a video, a happy video, and there's a script right there about a guy. He talks, it's not how I intended it to be. The marriage broke down, but I'm a builder. I've got to get on with it. It's not what I wanted. I accept, but it is life.
Yeah.
And it's not the life I wanted, but it is a life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, funny thing now is, me and my wife, we get along famously. And the kids see us, two adults getting along, not fighting anymore. Yeah. And that was the best thing that came out of this. Yeah. And although he's divorced. And he says, I've got a couple of B plans. I've got some extra work on the side. Yeah. I'm moving on. That's a much more positive story. Yeah. About, my wife left me. There
was one last week who was at the Construction News Awards. The support that makes in mind with the charity of the night. When we speak to them, they played a video, and it was it's a nail on the head with this. A guy, construction industry, but this guy goes to the oil and gas industry, so it's a completely different industry. Showed a video of him. Guy's depressed. The bit of the story tells you some of the depressing statistics behind construction, and then it goes, this guy was struggling. All fair play to him. He's doing well now, and it comes at the end of it. But he was real low, got in his car, then it goes to the CCTV from his neighbour. He gets in his car, drives out and smashes into a wall. Someone comes up to his car and says, are you okay? And he goes, actually, no, I'm not. And he's broken down. Whether he's not sure, he's crashed straight away. So I can only imagine he was drunk or under the influence to some degree, because he just hit this wall outside his house at middle of the night. And then it kind of said that he was really struggling, so he reached out and got help. And he's then sat with his wife, and then right at the end of it, they just go, if you're if you need this help, make the call. And there was no phone number, there was no contact, there was no, what is that call? And I was just Jesus. I do from reading this and about that, it triggered me to literally say, look at these videos for what they are. And I thought, fuck, that doesn't look good, does it? You know what I mean? And we're telling these people, so if you're there, okay, what call do I make then? Because I make some, I don't have a call line, they don't have a helpline. Do I ring? Who the fuck do I ring?
Yeah, that's right.
And I really noticed that, yeah. And I suppose we've said it for years, really. Don't fight depression with depression and sort of that thing. And I can't handle it. And when I watch these things, these videos, I get sent a lot. Someone goes, Steve, look at this. This one's a good one. I'm not interested, because I know the roller coaster it's going to take me on for those 2 or 3 minutes of watching it. Oh, it's just going to feel low. And the last 5 seconds, go, you lived happily ever after. I was like, this isn't a Disney film. This is a bit deeper than that. Yeah, like you say, let's watch something uplifting, comical, interesting, and something you can relate to when you're happy.
But it's not actually limited to. This is the problem. It's not actually limited to the construction industry. Yeah. I was looking on LinkedIn a couple of months ago, and there was somebody posted a video about Brighton Football Club.
Yep, so that one. Yeah.
In the crowds, and he's just talking to, again, the intervention point comes later. Yeah. And I actually commented on that, and I said, this is another disappointed video. And I explained the reason why. And you have all the usual suspects, like, oh, great video, oh, wonderful, really moving, but they're missing the point. So they're really, really missing the point. And someone commented on what I had said. I said, what do you mean? Why isn't this a good video? And I explained it's in here too, the Papageno effect. Yeah. The Papageno effect.
Just the bright one, the Norwich one. There was a Norwich one as well, wasn't it?
The one I'm talking about is Brighton.
So I'm thinking of the Norwich one.
But I said it's not limited to this. It's the whole trend.
Sorry, I do know the one. Yeah. They're walking through the crowd, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's the whole trend of this suicide prevention thing. It seems to be focusing on the rock bottom, rather than the hope and resilience. Yeah. So they want to start here, and the investigator in me. Yeah, and I have no evidence to support this. I'll just say this, but the investigator in me tells me, is it in their interest to keep this rock bottom sort of theme going? Is that because that's they have a business model that actually requires broken men. And I hate to say that, but
people flourishing and succeeding in life.
Yeah, that's
isn't
right.
Ideal for an industry where you've got to be cold, wet, and miserable all the time.
That's right. Yeah. So I'd like to see that change. I'd love to. I could help you create. You can create a simple video online now using AI programs and put that out there and see what that impact is. You
Yeah.
know? And that's why one of the reasons when we were like looking at these podcasts on here, in this same section, we looked at a couple of podcasts and videos. That's when I found construction in sport.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I said to a mate of mine who was helping me with that section, I said, why isn't there more of this?
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is a great
Thank
is
you.
a great thing.
Yeah.
Not just because you gave me a free coffee this morning, but because I actually genuinely believed it.
Yeah.
And when you on the backdrop of all this negativity, suddenly you've got this really positive message, and saying, this is why can't we have more than this?
And
more of this.
The reason for it is I'd been on so many jobs and had people come and do talks to me, and they'd come in, tell you about how shit the industry is. Yeah, probably talk us through these videos actually, how low it's been, how they're going, but now they're flourishing, doing really well. And then they fuck off after 10 minutes. They get back in their heated car and a heated seat and drive off to the next project to collect another 5, 6, 7, 800 quid, maybe more, with a few of them £1,000 to go in and do a talk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't got a clue what we're on here all day, every day. And then as well, my back was out. I was like, if you're actually going to fucking do something proactive and take us, let the company invest into us and do something fun. Because like I say, I've spent many hours in hospital beds that I felt depressed. I ain't doing it again. You know what I mean? I always think that I'm like, no, I'm out here enjoying ourselves. We're going to enjoy ourselves. Yeah, I don't want to be in this negativity. Is awful.
Yeah, that's right.
World,
Yeah, it really, really is.
Yeah.
And I actually, one of the things I thought about, because when you go back to what we were talking about a short while ago about the drug testing, look at the people who are choosing not to take the drug, despite the fact that they can get free theatre tickets or something. When you look at that group, and I wondered about when you do an event, you've got all these people here. Do you ever say to these guys, who's not here today?
Yeah.
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 Where are they today? Well, the guys you work with who just couldn't come, they may have a very good reason for not coming.
Yeah.
But it's worth saying, look out for those guys, because they may be the ones in a bit of trouble.
Yeah. Let's keep their head down.
Yeah, that's right.
Behind the scenes. Yeah, it's really interesting. I look at it, it's to get everyone to come forward who's really good and beneficial and fresh and ready and positive. And then you're left with the answers of people who need help without them even putting their hands up.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a lot of people turn out because they think there's a free drink in it. Yeah,
well,
that's where I would be.
A lot of the events there, the unofficial part of the Construction Sport podcast is there's an unofficial non-partnered branding deal we've got with Guinness at the moment. I think we like to slip in, and there's Guinness Zero out there as well. It's available for everybody, and his Guinness Zero is just as good as the real Guinness. But we do, and all the events we do go to, we walk past a pub, we go, let's pop in for one, have a quick social, and that the community. So that last week we done the walk, the RAF, 2 RAF bases, and finished at finished at Sandhurst, the military academy, and we did. We needed lunch somewhere, and we're walking through the middle of nowhere, and all the sticks out in Buckinghamshire way. We identified a few key, lovely-looking country pubs, and we pulled up there. One of them, the fire was lit. It smelt fresh cooking, and it was the most homely environment you ever had. We had a couple of drinks and got on the road. A few people had orange juices, a few people had waters, a few people had beers. It's open to everyone, but everyone comes out and we really noticed it. We've done a lot of marathon walks, say 26.2 miles, or 26.2 or 26.3. I always get mixed up. Been doing them for years. But I noticed 26 we were asking quite a lot and our timings are quite tight. But if we make that 18 to 20 miles, that allows 4 to 4 hours, half hours of walking in the morning, a good hour and a half lunch stop, good break, rest up, and then 2.5 hours in the afternoon to walk. And you've got a good day there. And you're not breaking people, and everyone's getting a good bit of community time with each other. And in the social environment, in the pub or wherever it is, even a cafe or anything, in the midday-ish. And then you get a good bit of quality time in the evening as well. And then we do 2 days of it. And that, I think, we kind of nailed it last week without blowing our own trumpet. In terms of all the events we've done, I thought that is a really good model to follow.
Yeah.
But we look back at all the groups we've got. So we've got WhatsApp groups with rugby players, football players, golf, treks, cricket. Yeah, cricket now as well. Cricket's doing well. And then just our members in general. But it was like, why are these sports? What is it? What's working? What's the common theme between all these? And it is the community of each one builds, because people in that group is like-minded because they've got a hobby. They don't even know each other, but when that sport plays at the weekend, someone in that group will just say who's watching the game or watching this.
Well, there's something very unique about sport. In fact, I have a column for a daily newspaper in Korea.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, it's based on criminal psychology.
It's written in Korean as well, isn't it? You're right.
I write it in English. I let someone else translate it. Yeah,
I'll try to pick you up there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Good catch.
Right to left as well. Isn't it? When they right out there, it's the other way. Yeah.
In Japan they do.
Oh, Japan.
Korean is like us.
Oh, is it? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but thanks for embarrassing me on that. Yeah.
We'll edit that.
So anyway, I write this column. And my previous column was actually about there's this TV show on in Korea at the moment, because Korea and Japan, since the colonization, Japan had colonized Korea and were quite brutal a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so there's always a lot of animosity between the two countries.
Yep.
And they talk about war crimes and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, trading and everything else goes very well between the two countries.
Yep.
And they had this TV show on Japanese sumo wrestlers versus Siram, the Korean traditional wrestling.
Okay.
Which are quite different, but also have similarities. And what I noted in the article is how nice it was, how graceful they are to each other, respecting,
levels,
because of sport, and they eat together. I said it was so very, very refreshing to see that, rather than the news we're normally fed about the anger that's and what I actually wrote about in the article is because they've got K-League football there, and they've got J-League in Japan, but both leagues play to relatively empty stadiums, because the interest isn't there. It's mainly baseball.
Yeah.
I said, what if these
it's
two...
huge. Isn't it? Yeah, I didn't realize the baseball.
It is. It's huge. So I said, what if these two leagues, K-League and J-League, merged? You'd have weekend flights going back and forth. It'd be so exciting. And you got the competition between the two countries anyway. Yeah. And I said, that's what sport does. It brings everyone together.
Yeah.
And again, I actually thought, thinking of your project, helped me write that article.
Yeah.
I said, it's such a good, where politicians fail.
Yeah.
Just get down to the sports field. It's on the grass or in the dojo or wherever it is.
Yeah,
that's
what it is. I always look at Rugby World Cup, was in Japan, but the song was the theme tune to the Rugby World Cup is the World in Union, and that is the song that comes together, unites the world. The Olympic shows.
You're not going to sing that.
No, I'm not going to
spare us.
I'm waiting for the Christmas. And when this goes out, that would have been the Christmas #1 by then, but not from me. No. That brings people together, and there's all day long, isn't it? It's kind of, and you just see it this weekend. Actually, when this is recorded, Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank again, and that goes to his family. So they hate each other, the family history, but that all creates this massive fight. But the media is massively reporting both those guys now and praising both of them for their respect levels and what they've done for the game and how they can bring historic rivalry from their fathers as well to the forefront and go, look, they've had it out, they've done this, they've done that, they've shook hands. Now there's heavy amounts of respect for them.
That's right. Yeah, and it does work.
Yeah,
it does work.
And in the military, as I've always said, probably say on every podcast, the military engaged with what we do, not from our level, they're for their own way. They use sport for it. The different banking and finance sectors use sport. Arsenal Football Club and even Manchester United, and especially West Ham, back in the day, they were companies who put football teams together, and they were born like the West Ham Irons and all that kind of. These were companies that realised that sport helps them as a company. Let's push that forward. And well, guess what happened? They've now got the Premiership, one of the most successful football leagues in the world. Yeah. There is a science behind it that I didn't discover. Yeah. But the construction industry is so self-conscious of it because it is not. There's no united body at the top. I know we got the CIT, we got Leadership Council, but they're just what they're doing is their own little pathways anyway. There's nothing that brings the whole of it together to go, look, we are one. We need to come together on this. And
that's right.
We're trying to get that.
Well, that's actually one of the things that I found when dealing with this issue here. It's so fragmented. Yeah. And so many different companies doing their own thing. Yep. Rather than unifying a policy and saying, look, we can deal with it like this. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe if enough people read this report, they might start thinking, there are some lines
They've got
here.
to. So too, because you're from an outside place as well, looking in and realise this. The Grenfell report that come in, fragmented was the word from, I think, senior politicians or the very senior people who were in part of that. Also, that we're trying to find a way of blaming someone here or who is what is at fault, but we can't because it's so fragmented. Yeah, and that is literally so fragmented is the word.
Or maybe that's part of the plan. Nobody can get blamed.
How do you defragment an industry, isn't it? Yeah. So on the Section 3 one, so one of the main things that popped up to me, and I haven't yet, but I thought I'm going to do some more research on these and look into it because I'm sure there's loads of stuff out there with it, is the Papageno and also the Werther effects. They appear to be disregarded. So the Papageno, that you say, the
Papageno. The easiest way to describe it is the Papageno is the positive messaging. Yep. Yeah, the hope, resilience. you can do this. The Werther effects is really affects like contagion. So actually, one of the things, because earlier we talked a little bit about the CIS payment.
Yeah.
Like you might go into a construction. This is just how contagion works.
Yep.
Okay. So you might go into a construction site with your CIS system in place. You might be perfectly happy or comfortable with that, but then you're hearing other people, it's terrible, all this negativity, and it changes your mind.
Yeah.
And you start to feel depressed as well. Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah. And that's what the Werther effect often it refers to, that contagion.
Okay.
And yeah, so when you see these negative videos coming out, you can actually see yourself in there.
Yeah.
And say, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah, I'm.
So it's, I even think for us from our media background, Alex, you just take note on this, we should always look at it and go, is it Papageno or is it Werther?
That's right.
Yeah.
Keep it positive.
Yeah. Papageno is the positive. Isn't it?
Yeah,
The P, got the
Papageno
P there.
is a highly respected theory.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot from that.
And it does make, because I know it straight away, and more, again, probably because being in the space and know what the industry's like now, is when you're in a gang of lads and then someone comes along and they are, say, of negative situation, they come along and you can just feel it, like bad apple and sort of thing. I'm very quick to cut it off. I'm like, I don't want to get away from this. And I do, I suppose. Right. Anything I'm watching, anything do it. Yeah. Even we put on the TV and something, what I could watch years ago related to hospitals, something, but no, get it off. There's a negative experience going on there. I don't want it in my life.
No, you don't. You don't need it. Yeah.
No,
there's enough to deal with already.
Yeah.
So, but some people, I found, I mean, we all know them. Some people are just bad news. They're always down and
fun sponges.
Yeah, that's right. You know?
negative Nellies. There's plenty.
If you really look into their lives, they haven't got it so bad. But they just have to complain. Some people are just not happy people.
Yeah, and it's always seen. Someone pulls up in a fancy car and turns out with fancy clothes, and they come out and they're just miserable. You go, fuck, it's not been in your life.
Yeah, that's right.
It looks amazing, but what a miserable bastard you are.
That's right. Yeah, it makes you wonder, is it worth having a nice car or all these things? Yeah. And all they can do is complain.
And I tell you what is definitely a British way of seeing this, is go into a pub in a high-end place in West London, say, and see how kind of to-do it is and snobbish it is, but then go to a pub on a council estate up north, then the West Country, even in Essex out here, in these deep, dark places in the country. Walk in there and see how welcomed you are, and the night out you're going to have, or the experience you're having there.
Yeah, that's right.
It backs up a little bit because you're thinking, shit, anything could happen in here.
We get a raffle going on as well, with a packet of sausages.
The meat raffle going. Yeah, exactly. That is the one. The meat raffle tells you're in a proper pub. But then you'll see people go, "God, what an experience!" Yeah, and what a good night. And we've had plenty of them. You walk and go, "God, if we get out of here alive, positive." So that is probably there's simple positive to take out of that is if you're surviving.
That's right. It's good. We used to go, when I was in London, we used to go to like the Frog and Firkin pubs. There's one down the Elephant and Castle.
Okay,
some guys on the Joanna, and by the end of the night, everyone's singing and it's a blast.
100%. We were out in Liverpool the other week actually, and that was it. Went in there, people, live instruments everywhere, and it was just such a good crack.
Yeah, that's right.
It really was. But going on to section 4, construction and neurodiversity. So the neurodiversity thing's always interesting. I know there's been a lot of research in the industry. Well, not so a lot. There's been a few bits put forward. I think Danny Clark at the CITB done it, brought it to light, the serious amount of neurodiverse there are in the industry. But then again, the construction sector, okay, well, what are we doing about that then? Isn't it, in a way? You've obviously found it in your work, Anthony, with this.
Well, we found that one of the things that we looked at was there appears now to be policies because they want neurodiverse people. It's part of, I guess, the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion sort of trend that we now appear to have adopted, or we haven't, but they appear to have. And you have to ask yourself, this is a high-risk environment on a major construction site, and if in order to be, look at us, we're a fashionable company, and so we're bringing in these people with ADHD because we're good people. That's basically what it boils down to. I think these are well-intended policies, but when you've naturally got people with ADHD who are naturally going to the construction industry anyway, as we explain within the report, if on top of that you're purposely recruiting others, then you've got this double load, which you may not actually have intended. You might be thinking to yourself as a HR manager, okay, this year we're gonna bring in 30 people who have ADHD. And you target those and you bring them in and you feel really good about yourself. And it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But naturally coming into the company as 100 people with ADHD or another 30, because they're naturally drawn to construction. But they're not going to tell you they've got ADHD because they don't know about your policies, but they fear discrimination, or they might get rejected if they say, well, I'm on these drugs and this, that, and the other. Yes, they lead to depression, da-da-da-da-da. So they're not going to say anything. So now you've got two groups. So a double portion than you first sort of anticipated. And if it's like that, that might contribute to an explanation on suicide, because ADHD people do have a higher rate of suicide. Yeah. And that's one of the factors that need to be investigated. Yeah.
And again, construction isn't doing that. And it's like I say, we're bringing it all in. And with it as well, and it is this DEI thing's a bit strange to think, but I know Donald Trump's had his strong views about it over there, isn't it? But you do end up with, and we've seen it, you're at these events and you go, oh yeah, that one's ticking the box. And this person's been brought in to tick the box. And I've spoken to them, they've gone, oh, you're only asking me to be there to tick a box. And it literally is that. And I think that's the sad reality of it, isn't it? When you can clearly see you've got people, it's all walks of life, I suppose, at the moment, isn't it? It's a dangerous topic to even discuss, isn't it, in society?
Yeah, that's right. But it's also, there's also a sad part of it, because
it is.
There's some people who are really, really well qualified.
Yeah.
And
being looked at.
They're looked at saying, well, should you really be here? You know, did you really work for this? Or have you just been brought in to make up the numbers or whatever? And I think that's really sad, because I know some really, really smart people.
Yeah.
And they would be in that group.
I got asked to be at an event, big event. I can't even say what it is actually. And I got there and I was due to be speaking. And I let everyone know in my network, we had about 20, 30 of us turn up because I was going to be there. And everyone was like, come along, yes, they will support you. And on the night they said, no, you're not going to. We've had to change it last minute because of a certain situation. And I didn't get anything spoken about. And then something happened in front of us. I went, that's why. And it was literally someone turned up on the stage from another misrepresented side of the society, should we say. And the person didn't say a thing, wasn't even questioned. But they were there for the photos, and it was just literally like, it was more awkward because a lot of people were like, and I felt embarrassed for myself. I thought I've just been cancelled there for this event. And it was a weird feeling. And then in my head is the middle-aged white man in a way, I suppose the way of saying it is.
Or maybe you were brought in there to represent the men with beards.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I can definitely represent a few different categories, that's for sure. Whether it's positive or negative. But and it was the first time I felt it, and I went, "Oh, that's a sucker punch." I've not had that before. But yeah, it's a strange old world. But mental health first aiders, you got a bit on there about the concerns about overstated competence, especially when trained by unqualified providers. There you go. So that's been an interesting one. My journey started because of the negatives of that, really. 2017, 2018, I really started pushing him, realising.
So are you a mental health first aider?
Technically, I done the course in 2017, 2018. Wasn't my boy born then? No, he wasn't. He went. So it would have been 2016-ish. I done the course, and I was the reason why the company brought the course into this project. I questioned a few things about, if someone's at worst case scenario, what do I do? And the lady teaching us just said, we ring 999. I was like, well, what's the point of this course then? If anyone wants, and I kind of I had a lot of questions, and I come off of it and I received a little bit of a certificate. Felt like I was back at swimming again when I was 5 years old. I've done 20 metres in the swimming pool. It's a certificate. They gave me that, and then there was no refresher, and that was my alarm bells. There was no, in a year's time, do a refresher course. And every course in construction is very much based on, you've got this, but in a year's time or 2 or 3 years, you've got to do a refresher. And I'd done my SMSTS, what's your site manager ticket. I'd done my previous to that site trainee supervisor ticket. There's a refresher to that. And in my head, it just pointed out to me, I went, there's no refresher to this. So what is, and to this day, technically, by their standards, I'm a mental health first aider because I'd done it then. It wasn't long after that, I had someone ring me. My boy had just been born. Someone rang me up and said, I've received your number. I've heard you're a mental health first aider. I need you to help me. this person was in a position where they wanted to take their own life. And I was currently 10 days into being a father at that time, and I hadn't slept for 10 days.
Yeah,
so my fatigue was down. And this guy said, yeah, I've been given your number by someone on your building site. I said, okay, do you work on the site as well? Because there was 500-600 of us on this project. And they said, no, but my friend does. He's got your name off the board on the side and he's given it to me. And I, no joke, literally just went, what the fuck are you doing ringing me? Like, who are you to ring me? You don't know. I'm not here. Why do you think I can do this? And I really bit, and I was sleep deprived at the time. And obviously, juggling in this new role of fatherhood. And I ended up biting big time at this guy. And he ended up apologising to me. We ended up having a really good conversation. And him going, I'm so sorry. I thought I was the only one with problems in my life. And it was almost to that point. And it got off absolutely fine. And I went the day after, went up to his mate on site. I said, what the fuck are you doing giving my number out to random people who are strangers to me? And he said, oh, sorry, I thought that's what it was all about. You guys like counsellors, you can help people. And I was like, no, not all. But that guy was fine in the end. And I've had 2 of them over the last 10 years where I've bit for different reasons. But that was the alarm bells in my head of, this is a tick box course. What it's covering is an arse cover quickly for people, the reactive way of doing this. Yeah. And I could see, and I was hearing things in Australia about when they raised it. And I'd spoken to a few kind of professionals in the psychological world, shall we say, psychiatrists and stuff, who'd mentioned, I'd read stuff online about their doubts with it. And then that's when I started prizing deeper. But when I put us out, we were then named, obviously we're a charity in the construction sector. We have had hundreds, if not thousands, of individual companies popping up to us saying, can they come in and supply the training to our clients? Now, it didn't take much didn't take much education to realise why these companies are popping up. But you could pay X amount of money, a couple of grand, I think, if that, and you could become a mental health first aider yourself within 6 days. And then you can go out to companies and charge anything from £2,000 to £3,000 for a course. You're earning £1,000 to £1,500 per day to train people on this course. And then that's when you can see, there's a reason why these guys are pushing it. And they're not regulated people. You've got trainers who are teaching people to train the trainer, I think they called the course.
Train the trainer, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, this is Wild West at its finest. And nobody's educated enough in our industry to stand up and say, no, this isn't right, because we haven't invested money into professional help.
So the question I ask in the Crane report on that very point is, if someone is genuinely clinically depressed, he might understand, like the guy who called you.
Yeah.
He might understand, that guy can fix me. Yeah, that guy can fix me. And he goes to this mental health first aider who probably has the best of intentions to help him, but he simply can't. He can only sort of signpost, or you need to call him, or you need to call her, or whatever they are trained to do. I'm not sure. And then, of course, if this guy comes away from it, the difference between what he expected and what he actually received from this mental health first aider is so vast, And then what happens when he then goes away and kills himself? There are many questions there, because the first person, as an investigator, the first person I would go to is that mental health first aider. So, what did you say to him? What did you tell him? What advice did you give him? And it sort of comes down to him as well. And then he's going to start feeling, well, what did I do wrong? And then he's got to carry that.
Yeah.
So it's
it is happening. We've heard it as well.
Oh, really?
There is one case, I won't be able to say the case, I don't know the severity of it, but I know there is one standout case which has been discussed over the years of this company the family was saying that you were supposed to be looking after this person, but with that person's help, and that person wasn't a qualified person. And I don't know the fact, but I know it's been spoken about by multiple different people in the industry. And I'm like, and I think that's when probably the alarm bells started ringing a little bit, and it's really faded off now in the industry. Like the inquiries we get through from it, or people who want to do the course, we're really seeing it's almost like it's not served its purpose, but it's come in thinking it's the answer. And where are we now? 10 years after I done the course, more suicides.
It's still going on.
Suicides obviously are still happening, but this isn't really the course. And if you look at it, it's a private business. What was floated on the stock exchange at one point as well. So it's got shareholders behind it who need to see numbers. So
I think that you mentioned something there when you talk about, of course, the family, when somebody committed suicide, and you said, and then the family are coming in and saying, well, what are you doing? Or this, that, and the other. I think that when a company takes on such an individual, a mental health first aider, they're almost assuming some responsibility
Yeah.
for the care of these individuals.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
And they've therefore, I mean, I'm sure they've got lawyers up to the rafters saying that, okay, this is the way you go around, this is how you navigate this. But if I were them, I would say, this is work. If you have a put a poster on it, if you have a mental health issue, you go outside. They could even do a contract with some clinic. That doesn't matter.
Yep.
You know, but bringing it in-house, employing people, calling them a mental health first aider, you are, it seems
so
to
true,
me,
so true.
you're taking on responsibility.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand why they want that responsibility.
Yeah. Even to the point, you're bang on right again. And a company wants to offset risk at any possible point.
Yeah.
Why is this industry trying to take on this risk itself?
Yeah,
instead
that's
of
right.
offsetting it to a professional body?
Yeah, that's right.
Again, terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, I think some companies are like working with the Samaritans, or I don't know if that's how they offset it, or
yeah, I wouldn't really, but then I think what they'll do is from that, I presume they just put their number on there, say ring them.
Yeah,
is almost of.
But even if you have that association, because I've seen that sometimes they have a Samaritan's office on site.
Yeah,
and then again, you're just bringing it on board. You're taking responsibility. If you just say, we recommend that company over there or that one, they'll give a choice.
Yeah.
There are clinics there. We'll even pay if you can apply for funding if you want to go there, but it's nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
That's probably the way I would do it.
Yeah, the same with us really, because we're a charity in the mental health space effectively, even though we don't push our name. That's another part of the report about we push ourselves sport based, but for the mental health reasons of supporting it, we are here as the charity commission with CSAs, and we are registered as a charity to signpost people to professional help, and that's exactly what we do. So we offset that way. We've got Mark Eastwood, his name is, and Happy Treat, his company, that support us in that way. They know what they're doing in that space. I don't really. I'm very quick to. They're my insurance cover. I put them over to them and go, you guys, this is for you guys now to deal with from that perspective. But there's a lot of that. Again, why are we taking it on in-house? Yeah. That is another great.
And then there's those, and then we touched on this last week when we were talking that there is another, not the mental health first aiders, but then there are others who come into the organization to give talks or whatever, and they call themselves maybe a business psychologist, or I'm a psychologist, or I can do this and
performance keynote speaker.
That's right. But actually the term in England, in the UK, the term psychologist is not regulated.
Yeah.
So you and me, we can sit here and say we're psychologists.
Really, yeah.
We can put a couch here and say, okay, tell your friend that you can lie down. All right, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
That's perfectly legal.
Yeah.
And so it seems that what we found, I think it was because I haven't been resident in the UK for quite a long time, but I think during the noughties there was this big sort of boom. Thank you. I think during the noughties there was this big sort of boom in life coaches and things like that. That industry appears to have now spread out and jumped into the mental health industry as well. Yeah. So these people aren't rooted in that. But they are the ones seeing there's a market there, just like what you said about mental health providers, mental health first aiders. They've seen a market. You said that company, whatever that company is, you said they were on the stock market for a while, doing very well. So there's clearly money in it. Yeah. Now, I'm not suggesting that they're doing anything wrong. They're not breaking any laws. Yeah. And in some areas, they might be doing a good job. But I just do think that there are other ways to look at this.
Definitely. I think that's where if the industry was, there was a legislation piece. If there was one unity in this kind of industry, they said, right, stop now, look at everything we've done the last 10 years, what's worked and what's not, then they can see this is worked, and then we can move forward. But that's where we suffer with the construction sector, is we don't have that.
What do you think is? I mean, I think construction support is working, but what do you
100%.
think?
Yeah, definitely. With more us. There's the people is. I think there's a hell of a lot of, despite the negatives in the industry, the people all do care. No one wants to see the figures doing it, but we need to promote the people within it really for what they are doing. But it just comes down to the program pressures in the industry, and we see it massively. Program pressure, payment procedures, and retentions and stuff like that. Them things that add into such a fucking concoction of trouble
Yeah.
that there's no time to, like you say, the mental health first aiders, who's doing this job? Professional health and safety guys, supervising, not usually middle management.
Yeah.
They've all got huge job workloads on themselves anyway. And
Yeah.
then they're being told, can you just get this tick box course done so we can show you are?
So do they get extra payment?
No.
Extra salary?
No.
Is that just a voluntary?
Pretty much a voluntary course. People will be asked to do it. And the people I know, myself included, have all done it because they've had their own run-ins with trauma in the back times as well. They've had traumatic past anyway. So you've got probably another vulnerable group of people doing it who think that they're, now I can teach people about lived experience because I've had it. It's like, yeah, but have you ever actually had any professional help yourself, let alone professional education to then teach that?
Yeah.
So no, I never heard of one person who gets a little bit more money to take that role. It's not really deemed. It is another just kind of, it's up there with a fire marshal. You've been taught to spray that fire with that type of fire extinguisher. So can you make sure on your high-vis jacket you just got the fire marshal on it as well, just to show, because they've all got to have one in the offices. So they're almost, a lot of companies just put a high-vis with fire marshal over the office chair, so they know that person if it is the in-house fire marshal. But it's crazy, isn't it? It's not play school, I promise.
But are there any companies that you know of that do not have mental health first aiders? Like the bigger companies?
Yeah, not the bigger ones. The bigger ones have all gone down that route, I think. Yeah, they've all put money into that. But that is all they've really kind of put money. They've all put millions of pounds gone into it. And you only look through Mental Health First Aid England's kind of accounts to see just how much money is involved with it. But what else has been done in construction? I'm struggling to find anything. And that's why we've found it so hard over 10 years of trying to promote going for a kickabout and a walk. Why is this so hard? We have to more show the social value and community engagement kind of boxes to tick rather than mental health in the workplace box to tick.
Well, this is why, I mean, to go back to the online survey investigation we're doing, this is why we need to find out what is going on from the people who are impacted by it.
Yeah.
If we get that, then we can give you the answers.
Yeah. And again, I think there is a huge point to put on this and really defend the industry in terms of saying that it's looking like the real in-depth knowledge behind all these suicides is non-work related, but we can't say that unless we investigate them properly. I think that's where I'd love to see that happening, and not to say I don't see all the suicides happening, but seeing, and then the industry. You can stub your toe on a brick tomorrow, and they'll investigate it, and they'll find, why was that brick there? Why wasn't this footpath clear of risks to trips and falls and all that slips and stuff? Then investigate anything, but when it comes to this, we have, and as you know, to learn and to move forward, you've got to investigate issues, haven't you? And that's one thing we haven't. I put a report up last week. One of the guys, one of the members of staff at the Lighthouse Industry Charity, hammered literally. I'd put something out about RIDDORs again, but also about legislation. Hammered me publicly in terms of effing this, effing that. This won't work. Legislation isn't for this. You just want to put paperwork in place. Publicly said it. It's on my LinkedIn. Unbelievable.
Who's saying this?
The guy called Andy Bishop, who works at the Lighthouse Industry Charity. He literally just hammered effing this, effing that. Pretty much that. I'll show you this on there. You can see it. The Alex, you might be able to bring it up on this actually. Bring it up on that. We can click it and put it on there.
Unfortunate choice of words.
Yeah, and I just said, well, not really, but apparently that's because he's passionate about the subject and because he's been there and had these dark sides. And I was like, okay. Well, to me, it seems a bit just male aggression to me. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Caught him on a bad day.
Yeah.
But, I put in there, we did a comparison because in South Korea, they have the Suicide Prevention Act.
Yeah.
And that was brought in 2011.
Yep.
Now, South Korea has the highest suicide rate in the world, in the OECD countries.
Okay.
And since they brought in the Suicide Prevention Act, year on year, suicides have been coming down.
So legislation has worked.
The legislation has worked. Now, Korea and England, UK are not the same culturally.
Yep.
The Far East has very groupthink.
Yep.
We are very individual.
Construction is union based as well, wasn't it? I think
they have very strong unions in Korea, and particularly in construction. But the interesting thing is, because I chatted with some guys. I have friends in construction. I have my own. I had the first green roof company in Korea. I took a break out of this work for a while. My wife said, just stop dealing with all this nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So I worked with a lot of construction companies for a while, and so I know people in there. And when I was doing this report, I said, is it a problem here? And the people I spoke to never heard of it, never heard of suicide in construction in Korea.
Yeah.
And so it suggests, but in America, in Australia, Canada, these are very high. It's a significant problem in this industry.
Yeah.
It makes you feel, why these sort of English-speaking countries?
Yeah.
What have we got all the same? Central to, we tend to have a higher standard of living than a lot of countries which do not have this problem.
Yeah.
So what have we got? Well, we've got drugs. That could be a central point. I'm not suggesting that is the only point, or even that is the point, but it's something that can't be ignored.
Yeah.
What are the other social pieces that link us all together? Culturally, we're very similar.
Is the divides between rich and poor across the same? Would be similar? Super rich?
Well, rich people do commit suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't probably work on construction sites.
Yeah.
So again, two people can commit suicide for very different reasons, even if they're both broke.
Yeah.
So until we investigate them, we can't work out what is really going on.
Yeah.
I said to you about one of the groups which were very high in the relative risk tables that we calculated was the road construction operatives, road maintenance. They're very, very high. No one seemed to realize that before. And so, excuse me, then we looked at road worker abuse because we couldn't explain it. Road worker abuse is likely to be a contributing factor in that.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? And again, I know it. I know now one, say the roads, similar to the roads, but the railway world where we lost a colleague, and it is, I think it pretty much just confirmed it was actually suicide, but we thought he was hit by a train at the workplace, sort of thing, and it went down as a collision in the workplace. But now looking at it, everyone said, I think the note was found, as far as I was aware, what I was told, but that was put down as a not a suicide-related work incident. That would have been just.
Did he step in front of the train?
Yeah, everyone said he was hit by the train, but and it kind of come out that he was struck by it because he stepped in front of the line whilst working. But there was reports on the ground of it from people we knew who said he stepped out there, he saw it and he stepped out there.
But isn't there like some form of notification, like a mile when the train is a mile away or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. You'll have it. So you do live open line working, they call it. What's not really known, it's not really pushed anymore. A lot of it is frowned upon, or Network Rail doesn't allow it in the supply chain, but Network Rail engineers themselves may do it. So they're working on an open line. When you've got a lot of projects and maintenance work going on from subcontracted companies on the supply chain of Network Rail, they will ban open line working, really. And then you can have line side, or you have line side, that's off the rail, but you can work adjacent to lines, open other lines that are closed. So you get a line block. So you block the line that you're on, you speak to the signal, and you can work on that. But it doesn't you can still cross up. But some of them will not let you cross the open line no matter what. So you'd have to go up to an access bridge or come in for a side gate or from a platform edge and come down to get, just if you're going, you only want to go across one line, they go, no, you've got to walk all the way around over a bridge. You're not allowed to cross that open line. But this was, reported as he's just been collided with a train. But there's people on there said he stepped in front of it. And I think there's a report, I think there was a note left behind and said, he stepped in. But then that makes me wonder, in the highway side of it as well, how much is that happening? People just, you're away. It's like the people jumping from high up buildings. You're always up high, so it's easy to do. And I've been on the roads and I've worked on there, them lorries are flying past you at 70, 80 mile an hour, whatever speed it is. It wouldn't take much just to step out there and go, I've had enough now. And just bosh. And so how many of that happens and just goes down as a collision in the workplace rather than an actual suicide? But that would need an investigation.
That's right. Yeah.
Goes to the next one, Section 5, construction industry recruitment. This is an interesting one. The prison estate as well, you've mentioned on there. We've got a guy who I need to introduce you to, actually, Martin Dunn, Elite Project Services, rail-based company, a little bit off the rail, but mainly he deals with prisoners coming in from the prison system into work, and he's got a real interesting approach to it from his own experiences and being the other side of the gates, shall we say. But he's got a real, I know he's raised it to me, I don't think I'm speaking too publicly for him, but that how many companies out there are just showing they're doing it, when are they actually doing it? And like you've mentioned in this, wasn't it, it's, are we actually qualifying people for what they've done, what their trauma's been, or what the conviction they've had? Are we preparing our staff in the right way for them to come in and work in that environment?
So firstly, I think that the idea is a very good one. I think that there's a lot of young guys in prison just took the wrong turn.
Yeah.
They just need, maybe raised in a fatherless home, or some kids go wrong on that. Yeah.
Yep.
So if somebody could give them a chance, and construction industry seems to be trying that, I think that's a very, very positive thing.
Yeah.
But it's not without risks.
Yep.
Firstly, the prison system has a very high rate of people with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people who, 10% of schizophrenics will commit suicide within 12 months of being diagnosed. Yeah. So if you bring those in, you don't know what's going to happen. So that could account for some people working in the construction industry. You know, they could be some of the suicides. I don't know yet. Excuse me. I don't know if any of the suicides which are occurring in construction have come from the prison system. That information doesn't seem to be available right now. Yeah. Maybe somebody has it, but I don't know. That would be a very interesting thing to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what were they? I would want to know, what were they convicted of? People who have been convicted of theft, firstly, probably won't go to prison until they've been convicted many, many times.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're prolific thieves. Then they eventually go to prison. Someone convicted of theft, one has the highest recidivism rates. They're going to come out, and the chances are they will commit theft again.
Yep.
They also have the higher, people convicted of theft have a higher rate of suicide than people convicted of other crimes. Now, that's probably drug related. They're probably stealing for a habit, a drug habit. It's probably like that. And the other risk, or one other risk, of course, is something that's been in the news a lot in the UK. And I think there's an legislation going through now about theft of tools.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we know it very well.
Yeah. So theft of tools apparently is a huge problem here, and we looked into that. So,
yeah, that was interesting. Yes.
So we actually I wrote to every police force in the UK, asking them about theft of tools cases and who's been arrested. We didn't get much of a response from them. They said, we don't have that data. We don't check that box. So when someone's arrested, one of the boxes to tick is, what's the occupation? We were looking for insider thefts. Insider, yeah. So, but the police told us each time from each force, the arresting officer doesn't have to click the box about occupation.
Yep.
But anyway, to cut a long story short, from the data we did get from across the country, from all the police forces, those who responded, it would seem that at least 40% of persons arrested for tools thefts are working within the construction industry.
Really? Yeah.
Now, it's probably higher than that because they don't even record the data.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Data recording. I've become very sensitive to data recording because I find in this industry, data is the highway abuse. So no one's got any data. No one can find. No one can tell you anything. Yeah. But they can't actually come up with statistics.
Dr. Luke Hands, his report, his doctorate that he's done around it, come back with the same kind of thing of the data's lacking hugely around everything.
Yeah. So that's a weakness in the system. So that I'd like to know how many companies hire these people from prison and then have to fire them because of drugs. There's a lot of drugs in prison, in the prison system. And you might think, well, why is that going on?
Yep.
Well, the prison guards, this is where we went into, are they coming out of a private prison or a public prison? Okay. Now, when they privatized some prisons back in, I can't remember the year, but some time back now, the prison unions were saying, you can't make money. You can't turn prison into a business.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not the right way to do it. And so they had this sort of argument. So what they were critical of, well, if you privatize a prison, they're going to have fewer security guards, prison officers, because that's the highest cost. But then in the public prisons, the unions always complain they've cut too many numbers. So they have low prison guard numbers as well. So they're really quite the same. But you have to work out when the actual culture within a public prison and a private prison is also different. Now, some prisoners they transfer prisons during their sentence. So are they a product of this prison or this prison style? Yeah. So it's very, very complicated when you're looking at it like that. So not enough prison guards means the prison guards, and some of them are women as well, working in there. So they're not that intimidating. But some of them will allow drugs or other crimes to carry on because they don't want the trouble. Just
keep them at bay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's crazy that's even a thing, isn't it, really, just to keep them coming through. The go on here, section 6, talking about the drugs, we kind of covered, I think, the drugs side of it, construction drugs, haven't we? And also pretty much, that the macho culture takes on section 7, that's section 7, that's section, the macho culture, cultural softening. One thing on there, though, I did see, it's there was one thing on here. I did see UK construction companies engage in cultural softening policies, increasing female participation in the industry. That's one thing we've kind of actually, there's a real big push for the women side in construction, and it's not an easy place to tread, that's for sure, because there's been a lot of controversy over the last few years, I mean, if not months of the way that this is done. But we kind of say that if just let good people into our industry, whoever they are, but we can see there isn't much representation for the women in construction. However, on the ground especially, we are, and we know firsthand, that there's a huge place for women to be in this industry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I almost feel like we're pushing, I suppose it comes out to that DEI stuff, really. We're really pushing out there, bring certain people in of certain demographics. At the same time, we're not actually fixing the problems we've got in-house first.
Well, one of the questions that we came up when we looked at women coming into the construction industry, and there are a lot nowadays. It's a much bigger number now. But why are they not represented in the suicide figures?
Yeah,
they're in the same industry, but why are they not suffering the same thing? Some explanation for this might be that they might be more in design side or office jobs, or in management roles, so they may not have the same stressors and they might be on a higher salary. If they're in management roles, then it may not have the same stresses as the guy on the front line, if you know what I mean. So that might there must be, we should investigate why women are not. Because nurses have a high rate of suicide, and most of them are women.
Makes you wonder if the ONS or whoever it is just deeming women not to be construction workers in a way. Is that far backwards in time?
They'd never admit to that. I'm sure of that.
100%. But make sure because a lot of it is outdated, isn't it, the way they go about it? But right, so 1970s and 1980s, the term mental still carries stigma, limiting engagement with mental health initiatives. I've seen that one, 100%. Data analysis and the findings, height of work. We touched on that one. Skilled versus unskilled. COVID-19 pandemic observations. That was interesting. What's the kind of mortality patterns align closely with suicide trends in the sector? So do you really notice that with COVID? It's despite workforce disruption, suicide numbers in the years immediately before, during, and after the pandemic were not dramatically different.
Yeah.
Maybe from my looking at that, I kind of think because construction actually didn't really change even through COVID. We were just told to carry on. And if anything, we've got to show why we are one of the best industries in the world with it, in a way. Kind of.
Well, I think the point of that particular section was that it was about job instability. Yep. And the COVID-19 period was a lot of people in construction lost their jobs. Yeah. And if you talk about, suicide in construction is probably because of the payment system, the insecurity of payment system, job insecurity. Yeah. That was probably the most insecure time. Mm-hmm. Yet the suicide rates didn't change significantly. In fact, in some trades, it went down. Yep. Now, there may be some explanations for that, because even permanent employees, a lot of them lost their jobs. Mm-hmm. From tier one construction companies. Yeah. Now, one thing that may help explain this, why why did suicide not change so much during this hectic moment, this hectic time? It might be that those who might normally suffer from these stressors, they might think everyone's the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not alone. This is happening to everybody. It's not just me. Yeah.
Yep.
But when they are in another time, they might be thinking, I'm all alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all alone trying to deal with this problem by myself.
Yep.
And I think that's a critical point.
Yeah, fair play. I've got that. The Section 9 boxed in construction industry scheme. So I touched on this, the CIS side of thing. We've touched on a bit of that already.
Yeah.
Stress, mental health and perception, the charity support systems and messaging. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, construction charities emphasise mental health counselling. Again, and we can talk from this. Yeah, this is, again, counselling I almost feels with mental even got that negative.
Well, I've dealt with a lot of sexual violence in my time.
Yeah.
And one of the things, particularly for the American Army, I used to do this for the American Army in Korea. So they have a huge sexual violence problem on base, soldier on soldier crime. And it's got so bad now they've got a whole line of ranks going right up to general, just dealing with this issue. Okay. And so they would invite me on to give training on how to manage this. And one of the things that I've always said is that, and it's not for everyone, but I think that the best way to recover from these things is to get back to work as quickly as possible. Get back into your life, and just carry on and fight against it.
And men are good at that.
Men are pretty good at that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But if you just sit down with someone, let's talk about it again. Now tell me what happened again. How are you recovering? How are you doing this? I think you just bring it all back up again. It's like going to court to give evidence. Victims don't want to talk about it all again.
Yeah.
So that's a very accepted understanding. If the victim is forced to give evidence because he's pleaded not guilty, he's punished. He'll get a higher sentence. Yeah. So why then is it okay in all these cases to always saying, let's counsel, let's talk about it, let's talk about these problems? And it might be good for some people, but I think on the whole, we need to move away from that and start talking about resilience and toughening up and saying that these things happen. They're sad, but they do happen.
Yeah.
Let's try and move on. Let's try and build.
I brought this up early because I used to be told that wouldn't be here, but I found my inner strength from being told to man up. And you can't say that this day and age. It was, you can't say man up. I'm like, will it work for me, for my background and for the people around me? It was, and that to me went,
particularly to a woman, right?
exactly, So I'm in that position now. I'm like, no, I was told, and I do find that probably from the sporting world as well. If you're down, whatever sport you're playing, suddenly you need to dig a bit deeper to support yourself.
Yeah,
call it man up, call woman up, whatever you want to call it. It's a sign to say to yourself, right, I need to find my inner strength here, and I need to push on. Yeah, fair play if you haven't got that inner strength.
Yeah, but
I think it's in this culture of cancelling things, isn't it? You've got to cancel. You can't say that. I'm like, well, because it doesn't work for one, doesn't mean you cancel it for the rest. But we see it a lot, and it is. And as you see here as well, should we be pushing people towards counselling all the time? No, we don't think so. And then also with it, and I think it's really interesting is we're talking about a mental health kind of epidemic or whatever you want to call it, crisis in construction. But as you've kind of said in here, is that mental health illnesses or is that just people who are having financial hardship?
Yeah, bad day.
Yeah, just about that. Yeah, and
we all have them.
I know we then getting mixed up with people who are potentially suffering with psychosis, mixed up with someone who's just had a few too many beers at weekend, is on a bit of a downer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And the people who are clinically depressed, they're probably not likely. They're less likely, I should say, to go forward and talk about it.
Yeah,
because they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
it's not really characteristic.
Yeah,
the characteristic to do so.
And then finishing on financial hardship and structural solutions on there. So Lighthouse allocated 1.65 million to counselling and 2.28 million to other issues, including emergency financial aid. Many workers are boxed in by debt, downtime, and a system that overprescribes therapy for what is essentially financial hardship or lack of direction. So it goes back to again, as well. It just shows that people should need to be educated, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
I mean, it might be that these charities, the more counselling they provide, see you next week. Come in next Thursday. See you next Thursday. maybe, I mean, I don't know how they work,
No.
and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sort of slag them off in any way, but it might be the more patients they've got on the books,
Yeah.
the more sort of funding they can get.
Yeah.
You know,
We've seen that, especially with, I do believe, I think it is pretty much there. You will get a grant as a charity, and then it's down to us to show. Say someone gives us £10,000, we will give you £10,000, but we want to see 1,000 people do this course, and then they don't get return on investment financially because the way the charities work. But their answer, we will feel like we've done well with our £10,000 if you educate 1,000 people. So they end up doing, especially mental health first aid courses, is how many people can we get? We need to get 1,000 people through this course to earn this money, and we can get another grant then and get another grant. So what did they do off the back of COVID? Everything went online then, and people can show that they're putting 10 people into an online classroom to teach them. So it gets a lot easier to get a lot more people onto a course, even though that course is going onto a computer where people aren't in a community together, really, in person, where it's a lot more beneficial. So I think that's, again, if someone said to me, I've got to sit on the mental health first aid course for 2 or 3 days, and I think they do it as half days over a week as well. So they do 5 half days, I think it is. It might be 4 or 5 half day mental health first aid courses online. I just think, that is ruining a week because I know the details of that course as well. You just think every day, what a help that is, I don't know, but that is pretty much where we are. We've come towards the end of there.
Well, I think what I wanted to emphasize in that section was really if you talk about the money drying up, you know, you don't have, the order book is empty. You don't have the next project to go to.
Reports indicate slow in construction output.
We should be training. So these guys, like, he's a builder. Why isn't, at the same time, you've got a shortage of scaffolders? Why isn't he training as a scaffolder?
Yeah.
And between his contracts, he can part-time as a scaffolder.
Yeah.
He's familiar with scaffolding if he's a bricklayer. He's been up and down. He knows the site. He knows the work site.
Yeah.
And for the charities like Lighthouse, rather than just paying money for counselling, rather than just giving hardship cash, the thing that's holding this guy back from taking a scaffolding course is that he doesn't have the money to pay for it. But the charities can underwrite this. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Even as a grant, and then he takes that course. Between his jobs, I'm a scaffolder too. I can work.
Yeah.
And that goes with like forklift or JCB driving, everything.
Yeah.
Train these people up. HGV driving.
Yep.
Train them up.
Military do, don't they?
Yeah,
everyone,
that's right.
They're fully ticketed up. And you do, I reckon you do quite a bit in construction. Yeah, across the trades, not many. You get a few who'll just see online who will be kind of multi-skilled tradesmen. Not many, but there's a few really good ones.
Yeah.
But then the machine operators, digger operators, they will always try and they're pretty good. Different kind of bandings they have to drive different machines.
Yeah.
So they know that next month this machine's not needed anymore, but I know they're going to need that machine over there. If I get my ticket, I can stay on this job then.
That's right. Yeah.
And it is. I suppose that's where it comes into it as well. The companies, I don't think like investing in that or support. Yeah, it's the charity side. 100% that could look at doing it.
Yeah.
The companies themselves, I don't think they'd like it too much.
CITB could underwrite that.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. Yeah, 100%, wasn't it? We've got these people there. There's going to be a bit of a down and get these people in there.
You know, another thing it says in there, like companies like B&Q, the big warehouse stores.
Yeah.
They're constantly advertising for part-time staff, Christmas staff, summer vacation staff.
Yeah.
All they have to do is, if those stores, there are lots of them in this country, if they all came together and they post the jobs, not on LinkedIn or wherever, but with the construction sites, and at the same time, builders around the country, when they're looking for some extra money, they go here first. I can do that. These guys are perfect for B&Q. They know they've used all the tools.
Yeah.
They can give great advice, and they could probably pick up some part-time work from people coming in.
Yeah.
Building an extension. Maybe I can help you with that, you know?
Yeah.
It works. Everybody gains.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. I've only thought about literally machine tickets going back out for a few weeks, just dump the machine for a bit.
What do you drive?
I drive digger. I've got a digger ticket and a dumper ticket and a roller ticket. I think I've got a roller still. Yeah, I can drive them. So
how much are they like a day rate?
Well, they cost now. God, what do they even cost? Because I went through NPAWS for mine, so you get assessed on site, and then you do an MVQ with it, a written MVQ kind of situation where you get questioned and stuff. but the CPCS one, I think, is pretty much a 2-week course, and can be, I'd hazard a guess at $2,500-3,000 for the course now. When you look at it, it's education. You're getting qualified as that job, so it opens up. You then got a period of time you've got to work between your red ticket to get your blue ticket, or it might be the other way around on that side. But yeah, mine was more from experience as being on sites all the time. And I was on some small scale sites where I could just jump on a machine. I'm not an out and out digger driver by any stretch of the imagination, but I can do a job on it and I like it.
But you said that license would cost $2,000 or $3,000.
Yeah, $2,000 or $3,000.
See, most like bricklayers or whatever, plasterers, they don't have that money lying around.
No.
But if somebody would underwrite it or do the course now, pay later, pay in installments later. Set up that system.
Yeah, because we get with it, and I always look at the CPCS one. You got to go off site for 2 weeks, and then you're going to lose 2 weeks' money as well because you're not being paid while you're there. So it doubles up straight away. Really, whatever it's costing you a day, you're losing a day as well.
But if you've got no work anyway,
and you shouldn't 100%.
Do you have to do it every day continuously, or can you come back?
No, you have to do it in one hit. Yeah, you have to do it in one hit. And
maybe that could change.
They definitely should look at, and I know you've got the Skills Hub, what's run by Flannery Plant Hire and Balfour Beatty, and that's doing really well across the country where its grants are in place to cover people. So if you're going to go in every ticket, you can pretty much get it for nothing. You've got to turn up for 2 weeks. They get it kicked back off the government or something because we need the drivers. So they've got systems in place for that. And we actually spoke to Aaron Davis there a little while ago actually about putting some guys down, but we couldn't at our company. We couldn't justify sending lads away for 2 weeks, financially still paying them, and then paying their digs and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there's so many complications to it. They are trying. Steve Mulholland, the head of the Construction Plant Hire Association, who was just on TV the other day, on Talk TV, I think it is, spoke really well about the problems they've got in that sector and why they need to. And you get your ticket, and I'd imagine the UK's ticketing, so they're not licenses. This is the thing, they're not a license, they're just a ticket. So
what does that mean then?
So you could hire a digger tomorrow at your house or any place you go working with a friend, and you could ring up a hire company and say, can I have a digger? And they go, yeah, no worries, just drop it off. You don't need to be like if you went to hire a car, they want to see your driving license. So a digger, it doesn't matter. You don't need to show a ticket for that. It'll get turned up. You can jump on it and just figure it out yourself. A couple of months ago, a friend of mine, Steve, can you help me out tomorrow? I just hired a digger and think I could do it myself and realised I don't know how to drive one. But you don't need a license.
So what's the ticket for then?
The ticket just shows that you've had training in place, and now you can go on a building site where there is a main contractor, and the main contractors will have it as a standard that as a machine operator on their job, you must have one of these tickets. So a lot of them are CPCS. More and more are becoming MPAWs now as well, the 2 ticketing sides. But like Balfour Beatty will say you need to have a ticket with NPAWs, a CSCS logo on it, or a CPCS one. You've got to show that ticket. And most main sites are like that. You have to have the ticket, or probably all of them. But that doesn't stop you from doing a private job somewhere or working with a private house developer where it's kind of, you haven't got big tier 1s there or tier 2s. Anyone can kind of hire the machine. And this is the mad thing with it as well. You got that with cranes as well. You going to a course and you can drive a crane. And I've said this before, the principal contractors will say you have to sign the machine off every day. You have to do health checks, operational checks on the machine every day. I said that's all good, but you never actually check the driver. This is the crazy thing. So you could be anyone from any walk of life.
So how does it work with insurance then?
That again, go back to, is that person deemed as trained and qualified? And then they can use that ticket. Yeah, we have deemed
ticket is enough.
Yeah, the ticket is enough for them to be covered, and they can show that. And these ticket companies are all tied in with the big associations in the industry. They've got big players in them, and there is big insurance products to it, I suppose, insurance cover to show that is. But at the same time, it doesn't stop anyone from hiring a machine and doing anything with it, really. And that is all about the machine checks and not actually the operational mental. It's all physical. What can you do physically? Nothing looks at the psychological side of these operators as well. And they'll sit in those machines then for 10, 12 hours a day, all day, every day. And I will say a lot of them are overweight. That is the thing with it. The people, you sit in a machine, it's like a lorry driver, and you just sat there all the time. Are you getting your steps in? We noticed it massively. We've done step counts with our team before. And the guys, obviously ground workers on their feet all day, and the machine operators, not so much that they obviously couldn't keep up with the amount of steps that the ground workers are doing, obviously, because they're sitting in a machine, but how little actual exercise they are having. So, how much they are looking after their own health. But this machine, the industry's in a bit of a confused situation at the moment. How do we get more? But they're trying to put in that. I know they talk about it now and try and go into the schools and show these youngsters that driving a machine is like gaming now. It's all digital. It's all the machines.
That's right.
And trying to use that kind of tie-in with, look, kids, you want to go work in a gaming world, go jump on the digger.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good idea.
Yeah, but it also seems to be is what's passed down by family, really.
It's funny that because you mentioned like the guys being overweight and everything else. We said the other day about rather than mental health people coming in talking about mental health, whatever, to guys, we suggested I'll bring in financial advisors, talk about how to manage your money. Yeah. But health advisors, sleep specialists.
Yeah, definitely. Sleep one. Oh, yeah.
Sleep specialist. How do you get a great night's sleep? Yeah. You know, because these guys are working shifts, long hours, they're drinking or whatever. Yeah. A sleep specialist would be a great benefit to them.
Professional people in their in their
it's
own
got to
right.
be professional people.
Yeah. We'll make it the future. But it's a huge thank you for coming down. I've spent a few hours on this one. As you said, probably go over, but I know
how long has that been?
It probably is, isn't it?
2 hours 30.
2.5 hours.
Oh, really? God, growing a beard here.
Yes, I already clean shaved this morning. A huge thank you. I knew it'd go on a bit longer this one, but I knew it's important too because there's so much detail to it. But if there's anything we can do and help push it, I know we will promote it as well. I'll probably give it a push even today online. Just show that get people looking.
Well, I've had a great time here. It's fun. So love the room.
Yeah, thank you.
Love the wood.
Yeah. If I'm on a Zoom call, you just see me go, "You're in your shed." I'm like, "No." We caught your shed.
I actually thought you were in the garden shed of your house or something.
No, big thank you for coming in. Safe travels around. Are you around in the country for another week? Is it? Another week.
Go back on Sunday.
All the very best. Safe travels, and look forward to what's next.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Anthony. Pleasure.